Yay! Okay. Eva, today
Hello.
today is a day. I don't know what is going on, but the world just feels like it's retrogrady. Yes?
It is the most retrograde. There's just everything out the window is on one. Also, everyone in here is on one, including
Us. There's
me,
like
my
people now
cats.
people now make fun of it and call like Mercury and Gatorade or whatever, and then they say like Mercury in the microwave. Today feels like a day where Mercury's in the fucking microwave and it's exploded, and it actually we put foil in the microwave with it too.
Correct. Yes. Chaos. And also, I think I texted you earlier, but I was going to tell you the story anyway. Ask me why I drink because this is also regarding retrograde. And
Oh, why do you drink?
okay, so this morning I was in my car. It's pretty early. I was driving around. I was at a stoplight. I'm just like listening to this like really like lovely kind of like emotional podcasts, like very like thoughtful and like whatever. Out of nowhere, I hear this insane cackling, just like Halloween cackling, uh,
What?
top tier. Like I'm
What
in my
was it?
car too,
Where was it?
so I had this panic in my heart that was like, okay, I'm going into overdrive, but I know that it's not something like life threatening because I can tell that it's like I walked past something in CVS, but I'm in my car.
Okay, it's just like someone threw in a weird sound effect on this show.
Well, so it turned out but I could tell that it was in my car, so I was like, this is terrifying. Turns out, do you remember giving me a little light switch cover?
Okay, I see where this is going now. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got Eva a light switch that looks like a mad scientist like pull switch, where like you have to like pull the
Hmm.
lever to close. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's a light switch that turns on and off when you pull the lever, but it also like glows bright green and has like a creepy witch cackle, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I'm the idiot that didn't take it out of my car.
I
So it
was
was
gonna say,
like
good to know you haven't installed it into your wall. That feels good.
it definitely was. I'm like a really bad, like, I'll leave even like exciting things that I
I
love in
did the
my
same
car for
thing.
like way too long. So it was in my, like, not even my side door pocket, it was in the passenger side door pocket that then I had to like
Why are you just
clamber
leaving?
across.
How did it get there? What I could, my
Clamber.
car day in and day out is a goddamn nightmare. I never want anyone to ask for a ride in my car. But the one spot that is always as clean as can be is the passenger side pocket because I can't even reach that area.
Fair. I think my friends had been in this weekend, so I think I kind of was like stashing things in different
Uh-huh.
places to be
That
like,
makes sense.
oh, I'm clean. I'm not. But
Ask me why I drink.
why do you drink them?
Okay, because you asked this earlier and I was trying to like be coy, but it didn't work. But I am officially on Adderall.
Yay!
I
Bravo!
So to everyone that was on Stratera with me in that moment, I commend you for staying on Stratera, but it was not for me.
Hmm.
And I ended up going off of it, and then I just lived the unmedicated life for the last 6 months. And that's why people are like, "Hey, where's the escape room? Hey, where's this?" And it's like,
Hmm.
I can't do anything. It's
Uh-huh.
not you. I can't do it. But I just got off the phone with a psychiatrist who was very lovely.
Oh, love.
Finally, it only
Love.
took a million years, and she gave me like an evaluation. I guess she was like, it seems like you need this kind of immediately. So instead of going and getting like your previous doctor's medical records, I'm just gonna redo the test now with you. And I
Oh.
guess the range is like from 0 to 4 is the scaling system, or where like, oh, you have ADHD, like 4 is, oh, you have ADHD. I was at a 6.
Oh.
So
Got
she
it.
was like
Yep.
she was like I am writing the prescription immediately to the very nearest pharmacy. So
Oh my gosh.
anyway, so I am officially on Adderall. I don't know how it's going to go, and she's starting me on a very low dosage, so I don't even know if anything will change for a while. She even said like be prepared for like months of nothing
Huh.
until eventually we find the right dosage for you. So
Got it.
playing the long game. But I'm very excited because all I've wanted is either Adderall or Vyvanse because those are the two I've heard the most like ringing endorsements about.
Yeah.
I was really hoping for Vyvanse, but the way she described it was that it's like the Tesla, and right now we're going to start at the Honda Civic. And I was like, okay,
Aw.
that's fair. That's fair. So the goal is buy Vans one day, I guess.
You're like, work our way up to self-driving.
Yes, exactly. It's like you don't get the car that can fart on its own immediately. So anyway, that's why I drink. And you
Yay.
drink because I gave you a little
Because
heart
you scared
attack.
me. And also because, so I have some actual wine here. So real cheers.
Clink.
Clink
Clink.
to that, because I wanted to. So Christine was so sweet, and actually she gave me this like really great credit to First Leaf. So I got like this really great First Leaf like delivery, and I had all this great wine, and I wanted to do like a little cheers to her, and that's why we drink.
Aw, that's the first time
glass.
I've seen wine on this show in so long.
I know. I figured
I
that
was
might
like,
be fun too.
what's that purple drink in your cup? Well, I hope you're having a good time. Does it taste good? What type of wine is it?
It's really good. It's a Spanish. I don't really know how to say it, but Grenache. And this
I
one's
don't
a
know.
really good. It like kind of reminded me of when Julia and my sister and I were in Barcelona. So that was
Oh,
like super fun.
just shameless plug to First Leaf. Then, if you want to feel like you're in Barcelona,
A plug. Also, in terms of plugs, I have something for you too. That's like a
What?
fun. Remember, I told you I was gonna look up the company that Rachel got the bread candle from. I asked her,
Yes.
and then she just bought you a candle. So I have a bread candle for you.
I love her. With
that
every
sweet?
day, I fall more and more for your girlfriend. That she really just, I mean, okay, so
So
here's another
sweet.
big thing, by the way, for everyone wondering more about my own love for Eva's girlfriend, is my favorite snack place in all of Los Angeles is called Donut Friend. I will
Yes.
never eat another donut that is not from Donut
Oh,
Friend.
I won't either now.
I have been telling everyone I know since I moved to LA, or if they're visiting, I'm like, you gotta go to Donut Friend. Best, it's like 90s alt rock band themed, like all their stuff. They have like a Motion City soundtrack donut or some shit like that, or like Taking Back Sunday ice cream sundaes. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And apparently Eva's girlfriend named her dog after one of the donuts. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
Are
the
you kidding me?
Nutella one. Nutella is her dog. Also, shout out to
God.
her dog. She just survived quite an ordeal, but she's okay now. But Nutella, yeah, was named after. I mean, obviously Nutella, the spread, but also specifically the Nutella donut, which I forget exactly what it's called again.
Nutellavision.
That's what it was. Nutellavision. Yeah.
It
So cute.
blows my mind. Okay, so anyway, go to Donut Friend. Also go to Barcelona and drink wine or something.
Yep. Also go to the Burlap Bag Candle Company for some baked bread action.
I can't wait to smell that. It's gonna be so good.
This is just products we love corner.
Bread candles, if you're listening, please be one of our sponsors. Okay, Eva, I have a story for you, and true to Mercury being in the microwave, I thought that I was gonna have to be done with these notes by yesterday. I thought we were recording yesterday. I stayed up all through the night, which is nobody's fault but my own. But at this point, like, and it's not even a surprise anymore. Like, people would be shocked if it was like I clocked out at 5. Like, so to no one's surprise, I stayed up all night being like, oh, I got to get these notes done on time so that way I can record. And then Eva was like, oh, we're recording tomorrow. And I was like, well, fuck.
That was a little bit my fault. I'm so sorry.
No, but so the notes that I did, I ended up staying up even later because I found all of this information. I thought it was going to be like a quick set of notes, and then I ended up finding all of this stuff. So this has become a two-parter.
Ooh!
So you will get the other half, everyone, including Eva, next week. So
yay! Oh my gosh,
this
exciting.
Is the story of the Glen Tavern Inn.
A tavern as in a bar?
As in a bar. And also like a man named Glen. Who, I mean...
Love a Glen.
The Barcelona wine thing. That's what you meant by tavern.
Just over here.
So for the Glen Tavern Inn, I had never heard of this. I actually Googled... I was having a little bit of a burnout moment where I couldn't think of a topic. And so I went to Ghost Adventures episode list just to see if there was something I hadn't tackled yet. And I literally closed my eyes and just like swirled my finger around and landed on one. And it ended up being a great story. So Zach, shout out.
Love it.
So fun fact about the Glen Tavern Inn, it is on the National Register of Historic Places and has been since the 80s. It is an official Santa Paula and Ventura County landmark, so it's in
Oh,
California.
so it's close to us, right? Ventura County?
We could do a little hop, skip, and a jump over there sometime if you wanted.
I'm
And
just saying I would love to do that.
okay, and I'll make sure to clear out your side pocket in your car when you drive me.
Thank you
Just
so much.
because I would drive you, but you cannot get in my car. It's so disgusting. Fun fact again, I don't know if this is real because I only saw it in one article, but I'm hoping it's real because it makes it sound super cool. The hotel's motto is where the past comes to life. And I
Ooh.
think it's because like it's like a restored building from forever ago, but it very much like is on brand with the paranormal activity.
Ooh, I love that it like immediately has a motto too. It's like, listen,
I
states
know.
get this, we're important enough, we get a motto too.
I would love a motto, but I'd also be so scared of the mottos someone would pick for me. So, allegedly, up to 75%, if not more, of the employees that have worked there have had a paranormal experience at some point.
Oh, that's high. That's a
It's a big
lot
one.
of
That's a big
people.
one. That's big enough that I feel like they should mention it in the interview.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Correct, yes.
So, the story starts in 1872 when Santa Paula was founded. 18 years later, in 1890, the Union Oil Company is founded here. Fun fact. Ooh,
Hmm.
ah.
Ooh.
So
Oil.
oh yeah, I love olive. That's my favorite one.
Olive is the okay, we love that kind of oil, not as
Right.
much the oil, that spills and environment and bad. We love
That's
it.
is easily set ablaze.
Correct. We love a consumable oil that's like
I
preferably
love
you can
one.
dip some bread in.
I love a carb enhancer.
A
Um,
carb enhancer. Yes.
so in 1890, the Union Oil Company was founded in this area, so that's why it's important.
Mm.
So around the same time, I only saw this on one article, but I feel like it's like if the oil part is worth mentioning, then so is this.
Yeah.
That around this time, not only was the oil company founded here, but one of the city's founders started growing oranges, and like it became the
Oh.
first orange crop of the area.
Oh.
So now they got oil and oranges all in the same decade. And the town also, by the way, becomes the citrus capital of the world for a while.
Ooh.
I don't know what it is today. I assume Orlando for no reason at all.
I mean, it
Um,
still is like one of the Disney locations, if not both, because like
right.
isn't that in Soarin' over California? The like they like spritz orange spray at you when you're like flying over.
Oh, I don't
I
know,
think
but that sounds
so.
way fun.
It's really
Could they
nice.
do that with like fruit punch or something so I can catch it in my face?
Red candle,
Red
orange
candle.
candle.
Yeah, so in that decade, in the 1890s, oil became a huge industry and oranges became a huge industry in the area.
Mm.
When I think of oranges and oil together, by the way, I think of that one weird set of years where all of our moms were really into like Tuscany, Italy, and they all had those
Mhm.
weird jars of oiled fruits.
Yeah, we were talking about the Tuscan style at Christine's place, weren't we? Because there were a few things that were kind of like
Oh,
Tuscan. Like
maybe.
you kind of nailed it, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, that is that like
That's how you
Tuscan
know Christine's a
house."
mom. All of a sudden, she's into Tuscany.
Oh no, she
Uh,
was trying to get rid of it. I think some of the Tuscan
she
like
was. She was.
looks.
She
Yeah.
she was showing us pictures of how the whole place used to look exactly like all of our homes did in the early
That's
2000s.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So the two major industries, they came in at the same time, and that's what allowed Santa Paula to thrive at that point.
Mm.
Um, in 1911, so only like 15, 20 years later, Glen Tavern Inn, the building was constructed. And it was during a point in Santa Paula's history when it was super successful.
Mm.
Plus, the land that the inn was on was right across the street from the train station. So there was a lot of foot traffic. If there was any tourism, it was coming right through there. Plus, the two massive industries and employees were coming in on the train. So the town wanted a hotel there. And I guess there had already been a hotel before. But then there was a few years prior, there was the 1903 fire, which I guess burned
Mm.
down the original hotel, and the boarding house in the area had just shut down.
Oh.
So they needed lodging. And also at the time, remember in the early 1900s, hotels were like the hip happening place to be for
Mm.
like wealthy elite, and it was like
Mm.
like the lounge downstairs was where everyone like always hung out. So it was a very it was meant for like high society. So they thought not only are we going to bring a bunch of other people in, but especially the wealthy folks. So
Interesting.
uh, at the hotel, uh, to have the hotel, a board of trade directors decided to get local investors involved, and they helped fund the construction of the hotel. And I saw on one article that they only agreed to fund the hotel if they would get repaid $1,000 each afterwards, which feels like the opposite of funding a hotel if you expect them to pay you next. I don't know if that's a normal business transaction.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe that's like a payback plan type thing.
Maybe. Like I'll invest in you hoping things turn out well and then you pay me. I'm not sure if that's a normal thing, but I thought it was odd. So the hotel seemed to it was officially built in 1911, and since then the hotel seems to have been passed between a bunch of different owners over the years, and even during World War II, I guess the government leased it out and it became lodging for female employees of the military.
Oh, interesting. Which
I don't totally understand that, but I guess the government needed all their women in one spot.
Sounds either
nice
great or
horrible.
Questionable. Yeah, exactly.
I feel like something fruity happened there. I feel like there was at least one or two really funny stories, but like the whole military just called them friends, you know?
Oh, sure. Like, the abnormal from that trick or treat story.
Yeah. Or it could have been like a really good early version of like the real world, of like just put a bunch of women together. And I mean, it could have been anyone. I would have also liked to see a room full of men, and you know.
Very true.
After the World War II lease, the government lease got, I guess they were going to have to repay it, but they gave it up, so it became a hotel again. And over time, the area went from an oil town and really like booming and successful to just being a small rural town, and the population of the tourism kind of died down. And so at this point, by the 1960s, the hotel is struggling. And by 1974, foreclosure proceedings are starting on it. I don't know what
$1,000. They're paid too many $1,000 back to the.
I know. I also wonder how many local investors there were. Like, did they owe $3,000 or like $30,000? Like, how many people did they owe back?
And like, how long term was that investment? Like,
yeah,
were they still paying it back in the 70s, or was it like just a couple payments?
You're totally. I have no idea. I don't know what happened in between the foreclosure proceedings in the 70s and all through the 80s. But by 1989, one guy owned it who decided that he was going to turn it into a branch of a college in Tokyo. So like the U.S. branch of an international college.
Got it.
At first it was the whole building, but then by 1992, I guess he had there wasn't enough enrollment. So to keep the building open and the school itself open, he kept the third floor as the school and as the classes, but the second and first floors were back to being a hotel, which is so wild to me that like some students had to like go up 3 flights of a hotel to get to school.
A version of that happened at Emerson when I went to Emerson in, what even more of the years, I forget, 2004 to 2008. And they had one of the dorms, they've since like rehauled every single one of the buildings, but at one point they were redoing one of the dorm buildings and they didn't have enough dorms for everyone. So they like rented out just like for the year, a couple of semesters. I think it was 2 years actually. It was like a long time. They rented out the Radisson down the street. And so there were kids just like in Radissons or Radisson hotel rooms for like an entire year.
And according to Michael Scott, that's a really flashy place.
So. I mean, listen, we know the Radisson is.
Kind of a similar thing happened to us where it happened, the last year it happened at my college was my first year of college. So I was definitely like the last year to come in to remember this. But when we were expanding as a school, there were a lot of, I remember there was a few different storefronts that we literally had to go into the back of the building to have classes because they were just renting out a room of an office space. So I remember a bunch of people like had math class in an H&R Block. Like it was, which is like,
I mean, kind of fitting. Yeah. They were like, would you like to do some taxes while you're here?
It would have made less sense if it was like learning a language or something. But I remember that I lived above a tropical smoothie when I was in college.
Love.
And I remember, I think I've mentioned that before on here, but before all of them were apartments, they were additional businesses or something. So I kind of understand the like oh, you have to go into the back to get to your actual school.
Yeah.
Actually, all the way through until I graduated, one of my statistics classes was in a bank.
Oh, also somewhat seems fitting.
It also seems fitting, but if
Yeah.
anyone is at CNU, write in and let me know if they still do classes at the SunTrust building. So
SunTrust, oh my gosh.
I remember
So
my
wild.
mom came to visit me and she was like, "Oh, like you have a building called the SunTrust?" And I was like, "No, girl, it's a bank." Like
It's the one you know and love.
it's like it's the one I'm gonna help you get me an account at later. So anyway, that was a long-winded version to say that there was a school on the third floor for a while and it continued being a hotel.
Got it.
And so eventually it was bought out again in 2004. And from 2004 to 2007, the owners decided that they were going to restore it back to its old form from 1911. So now, today, it is a hotel, restaurant, lounge, event space.
Ooh.
By the way, it is super haunted, and which, like, that's why I'm talking about it. But it's so haunted that one of the things that they do at their event spaces is they host paranormal conferences.
Oh, fun. So they lean into it. Like, I feel like that goes one of two ways places.
When 75% of your employees are dealing with something, I think you have to lean into it. Otherwise, you're just like, that's bad business.
That's bad HR, right? It's like hearing those complaints and being like, no, ghosts don't exist.
If you deny it, I consider that 75% gaslighting. Yeah. Like, that's, it's like, no.
Yeah.
So in 2008, it actually, for its restoration, the owners earned certificates of special recognition from the Senate, like the U.S. Senate, the U.S. Congress, and the California State Assembly for their restoration.
So they did like a really good job.
I guess so. Like, damn, can you imagine Congress emailing us being like, you deserve a certificate? I'd be like, you're someone... I don't think the person in charge is emailing us. I think someone went out on a lunch break and the intern is emailing us.
It does feel like one of those things, like, I would love to know if, like, they submitted themselves for it, or if they, like, knew it was a thing,
right?
Or if, like, the government, like, came to them to be
like, was it a shock or did they beg for this? It's somewhere in that range. So this, here's my favorite fun fact of the entire notes, is that the Glen Tavern Inn has been featured in several books and documentaries about their ghosts, including CNN's Southern California's Best Kept Secrets, The Dead Files, and do you want to guess the third show I'm about to say?
Oh my gosh, Vanderpump Rules.
It's as ridiculous as that. MTV's Teen Cribs.
Okay, Teen Cribs? I didn't even know that was a thing.
There were only 2 seasons. I did everything on earth to be able to find it online. I know if you can find it, please go for it. It's season 2, episode 19, and it's the second half because they, I guess, have 2 people show their cribs at a time.
2 teens?
It's literally like MTV Cribs, but it was like, I think it's like teens of rich families. Like, and they're like, check out my mansion. It's like it's your parents' mansion, but okay.
Oh my God.
Or maybe, I mean, I couldn't watch it. I don't know what it's about, but it seems like it's people who either have like very bougie homes or at least unique homes. And one of the daughters named, I think her name was Aisha. At one point her family lived there and she was on MTV's Teen Cribs season 2.
Oh my God. Lived in the now tavern.
Yep.
Wow.
I think it was like her family owned it, so they at least were there all the time, if not actually living in it.
Got it.
Yeah, fun fact, it was on MTV's Teen Cribs. So.
Listen, you get me with any reality show, and you know it.
Eva, which we have to talk about reality shows in a little bit, because there's a new season of Below Deck that we need to discuss.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so the building was/is 35 to 41 rooms. I got different numbers on different sources, and I'm wondering if like at a different time it was 35 and now it's 41, or I saw 36 at one point. So I don't really know what the number is, but it's between 35 and 41 rooms.
It's definitely more than I thought. That seems like bigger than
really?
That's yeah.
That's I don't know why, but I think it was less than I thought. Fun fact.
Meeting in the middle.
It is 3 stories. It said that at first it was originally 2 floors of a hotel with an attic. And because the attic wasn't expected to be hotel rooms, it was, I guess, an open floor plan and there was nothing going on up there. So during Prohibition, the third floor's open, spacious landscape let it very easily become a speakeasy slash gambling hall slash brothel.
Oh my gosh, we love an open concept
I
speakeasy.
literally wrote open floor plan and I was trying to avoid it, so maybe you could insert it yourself. And you did.
Listen, I didn't work at House Hunters for nothing.
Honestly, that's when we knew that we wanted you in our lives. And you're like, I worked on House Hunters. And I was like, you're coming home with me. Like you are definitely hired. You're definitely hired. And also because it was on the third floor, it was a good view for cops, or for authority. You could see down and see if anyone was coming, so you would have time to escape.
Got it, as like a lookout spot.
Yeah. Also around this time, the hotel was really popular because this was the era of Western films, and it was in an area that had a lot of really easy settings to turn into Western films.
Oh, cool.
So not only is Prohibition a thing, where there's a bunch of like literal, there were literal cowboys coming in originally. Now there's Prohibition where there's like gangsters, and now there's also celebrities coming into this hotel.
Wow.
So it's got a big rep, you know?
Yeah, quite a mix too of like lots swirling around, lots hip happening in that attic. Speakeasy.
Whoa, speaking of swirling, my head's all over the place with that sentence. I loved what happened there, but I could never remember verbatim what you just said. I just enjoyed the energy that came from it.
I pulled it from a Mad Libs.
So, there were a bunch of Western film actors coming in. And so because this hotel was so popular, film crews would rent out rooms for their cast and crew while they were filming.
Got it.
So that includes several famous Western actors, mainly like John Wayne, but pretty much the whole run of them were there at some point. Clark Gable was there. Rin Tin Tin, the dog, was there at one point.
Oh my gosh, famous pup.
I think he was like the first. Was he the first famous pup? In my mind, he is. I can't think of a famous pup before him.
I mean, no, I certainly can't.
Old Yeller? I don't know.
A biblical dog that is unnamed and not real in my head.
It was actually Jesus's dog. His name was, I don't know, Rover.
It's all in the Da Vinci Code, the apocryphal like wife and dog of Jesus.
And then not just kind of like sidestepping the Western actors and Rin Tin Tin. Another famous person who stayed here, I guess, quite a bit was Houdini. So,
oh my God, callback, throwback.
A little callback collaboration from when we did our Houdini episodes.
Wow.
Houdini's room. This is also where I get very confused because I feel like in every source, the main haunted rooms are like 307, 308. And I feel like every time there was a fun fact about anyone that stayed there, they were like, oh, when they stayed at 307, they stayed at 308. It's now, apparently 308 is now known as the Houdini suite. But also, I don't know if that's true because there's like a bunch of other people who stayed there that are like have equally critical stories in this. I don't totally, maybe one person really wanted it to be the Houdini suite, and so they wrote that into the article, but it's like not true.
Gotcha.
But the story went, at least in that one source, that it's called the Houdini suite because it's where Houdini liked to stay because he was insistent that he and his magic tricks would stay on the top floor so nobody could snoop around and find out about his magic tricks.
Sure. So like the attic is good for like illegal at the time. Easy stuff, and also for Houdini secrets.
All sorts of trickery and tomfoolery, yeah. And during the Prohibition era, there were obviously a lot of undocumented shootouts and murders and crime, and that also goes for this speakeasy that was in the hotel. And the most popular story from the Prohibition era was of a cowboy named Calvin.
Calvin!
You know him well, Cowboy Calvin. We all know one. So some say he was a cowboy. Others say he was actually part of like the Western film crews, and he was like one of the horse saddlers or one of the ranchers that was like basically one of the animal trainers on set before its time. And so they don't know if he was a cowboy or just worked on the film crew. I think he was a cowboy. Most of the stories made it seem like he was the cowboy. And
maybe cowboy meant like cowboy, like they called him that as like
he was the cowboy wrangler on the set.
Yeah, like not the actor.
If he was the horse wrangler, I imagine he was definitely of all the people on the set, the cowboy, except for like the actor pretending to be a cowboy.
Right.
But anyway, so they've tried to find records of what his situation was, but there's no real evidence. And they're not even totally sure this is a real story. This has just been lore that's been passed down from each owner.
Oh.
So we think it's real, but no real solid proof of it. But the story goes that Calvin was playing cards on the third floor in the gambling hall, and he got caught cheating. And I don't know if it was actually on the third floor upstairs in the gambling hall or if he later went back to his room, but he really pissed someone off when they caught him cheating and he got shot. And he was found with a bullet to the head, or the story goes that he got shot in the head.
Yikes.
But so that's like the most popular death to have happened on this site.
Got it.
The lore continues because years later, when they were doing some renovations in, I think, the kitchen, they found a crawl space or a hole in the kitchen and a cowboy hat with a bullet hole and bloodstains allegedly was in there.
Oh my God. Whoa.
So it's almost like was his body there? Or did they only stash the hat? Like, where'd the rest of him go? And why didn't they just bury the hat with him? Why did they see this one hole in the wall and they were like, this is exactly where this needs to be? This is like just setting it on fire or like patching it up and using it again, recycling. I don't know.
Oh my God. They were like, we for sure want a ghost here, but we don't want the bones. So like, we're just going to put a hat in a wall.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I have no idea. It makes zero sense why.
Yeah.
I feel like you'd at least want the evidence not in the hotel anymore, but whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And like, even, I mean, obviously at that time, who knows what, like, I don't know what police work was like then, but it seems like someone should have been like, hi, this like piece of evidence. Don't bury it in your wall. Maybe that's why they buried it in the wall. Maybe it had like extra like,
maybe
tracked something, but.
Or maybe they were like, it's like hidden in plain sight sort of thing. I don't know.
Maybe it was in his will. Maybe he was like, bury my hat in the walls of this bar.
Yes, I'm sure the man who committed cold-blooded murder respected his will. Anyway, many believe that this is proof that Calvin was killed on the property. Mm-hmm. And apparently, if this hat existed, I think it did. All the sources were acting like this hat is like the real deal. And nobody had questions about it except you and me, I guess. But I guess they actually used to have the hat on display in the hotel, and then eventually it went missing. So some people say it was like the ghost took his hat back, and other people say that someone just stole the fucking hat. So
okay, I was actually just going to ask about it being on display. Yeah. So that's really wild. They did have it on display. Wow.
Apparently so. So some say that the place isn't haunted and that the ghosts were... Before I talk about more of the ghosts, I just want to say some people say that this place isn't actually haunted and that the ghost of Calvin and like the speakeasy brothel gambling hall thing was actually just a promotional idea in the 80s because they knew that the hotel was tanking. And so to like boost interest, they just said it was haunted. Mm-hmm. Also, some say that the speakeasy wouldn't have even been on the top floor, so the whole speakeasy storyline doesn't make sense because anyone who knows anything about speakeasies apparently knows that they would never be on the top floor because there's no easy escape route.
Unless they had like...
I would think like a window or a ladder. Like I feel like you could just get on the roof and hop to another building or something. I'm imagining Spider-Man's at the speakeasy. But
they're all Marvel characters at this bar.
But I feel like that's not a really solid argument, but that's the main one of like, well, a speakeasy would never be on the top floor. But then in my mind, a speakeasy should never be like underground in a basement. That's certainly less escape routes.
No, I was just going to say that because like I feel like the same level of like, oh, this like underground basement bar has like tunnels out. I feel like also in a lot of old houses they have those like, you know, like even like servants' quarters on the side, you know, with like the staircases on the side that go down. Like I feel like
that's not a great argument. I feel like there could have totally been... I think a speakeasy was just trying to fit wherever it could. So like
exactly, yeah, take up and especially if it has good lookout, like, you know, nowhere underneath.
There's definitely... That's a great argument of like, oh, you can see down and if anyone's coming into the building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At the same time, people also said that this place probably doesn't have like the speakeasy gambling history, because Santa Paula at that time was becoming really rural, and they would have been like too moral for sinister activity. And I'm like, okay, relax.
I
Like,
feel like it would have been more like the more moral some thing or some area gets, usually doesn't it swing the opposite that like people need
I
more of
mean,
an outlet?
let's take the pillar to killer example away from a person situation and a place situation. Like, you
Hmm.
never expect the kind, sweet man. Like, maybe you never expect the kind, sweet town. That
Right.
like there could be a speakeasy right upstairs. Who knows?
Listen, yeah.
So it wasn't. That's not like a solid argument to me, but a lot of people do say like, oh, the ghosts aren't real, and it's just like it was marketing for the hotel to stay up.
Got it.
Fine, whatever. But also, there's a lot of people out there who are saying this thing's haunted,
Love
which
it.
is so. I'm just obviously biased, but I think none of the arguments are solid. Um, they others say it's definitely haunted because I guess if they've done any research on ley lines, apparently a lot of them
Oh.
intersect, or the town's ley lines intersect under the hotel. Um,
Oh.
which I know nothing about that. I'm just taking someone
Mm-mm.
else's words, but that's a really cool theory. They also say that if the place is haunted, room 307 is the most haunted in the hotel, and I guess the surrounding rooms on the third floor are pretty haunted too.
Mm.
And Calvin is the spirit most seen here. Apparently, he is seen in a white shirt and a Western jacket, and he has long hair, a beard or a goatee, some sort of facial hair, and he smells like cigars sometimes.
Hmm.
He's seen in the lobby and in the first floor women's bathroom. Yikes, Calvin.
Oh, Calvin.
And he is seen in pictures as well as walking through walls and fading away. And one psychic even said he was a Buffalo Bill lookalike,
Oh.
or could have been a Buffalo Bill lookalike.
Huh.
There is another ghost here that's really, really popular named Rose, who
Hmm.
worked in the brothel during that time. So she was a sex worker that apparently was, I guess, also in room 307. This is what I'm saying. They're
Huh.
all overlapping in the same rooms, and it feels a little too easy that we're just like throwing everything at 307 or 308.
Got it. Got it.
Like, how convenient that everything is happening in these rooms.
Maybe the people checking in, people were like, you seem like drama. You'd be a good ghost. Let me put you in 307.
Or maybe all the people who are like really troublesome, they're like, enough shit has happened in these rooms. Like, if I
Uh-huh.
do something bad, it'll just be another rumor versus like really
Yeah.
landing somewhere.
No, that's a good point.
But so Rose had a client in room 307 who apparently beheaded her.
Beheaded Rose?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And left her in the closet to be found without her head.
Without. Oh my
Yes.
God.
I obviously started this by saying I got this information from Ghost Adventures, and thus we know what I will eventually be talking about in this episode. I will say, in the episode of Ghost Adventures, if you are not into graphic shit, like, cover your eyes, because they really did a visual number on
Oh.
reenacting Rose's death.
Oh,
Like,
reenacting.
they don't show her actually like a person being beheaded, but
Okay.
they show pictures that had, because this is all a rumor, so the pictures had to be fake, but they were done so well, part of me thought these were like real crime scene photos.
Oh, God.
So it's just, if that's like not your thing, I like, Zach even gave a warning, which, like, if you have to give a warning about reenacted pictures, like, you did it too well. Like, take a step back, you
Also,
know?
I feel like if Zach of all people is giving a warning, like a graphic
Yes.
warning, then it's like, oh, okay. I'm
He
like
literally said,
legit.
hide your eyes. And I went like, okay, Zach. And then I went, oh my God, I should have hidden my eyes.
Oh, okay. Yep, that was the one. Yeah, right. Because it's so hard to know if he's being dramatic or if it's
I
like
know.
it's like the real thing. Okay.
So anyway, so the story goes that she was beheaded in the closet of 307.
Yikes.
She's shown herself to people as a full-bodied apparition. She's also shown herself as a white mist. People have heard knocking inside the closet.
Oh my God.
Um,
Oh, that's so sad. I wonder if this is sad. Maybe I shouldn't say this. Is the mist because she doesn't have her head? Like she couldn't like fully materialize to like a
maybe.
full.
Maybe. But then that makes me wonder about the times where she's a full-bodied apparition.
Maybe remembering
I don't
times
know.
before.
Whatever it is, it's disturbing.
Oh,
I
that
don't
is so
like it.
disturbing. No, that's so sad.
Rose also allegedly likes to open and close doors. She's the reason that the phone will apparently ring off the hook for no reason, like nobody's on the other end.
Oh, wow.
According to one investigator, Heather Woodward, who we're going to talk about a lot next week, I think, she said she saw Rose, who has short dark hair and olive skin. Heather said that she believes that there's also a perfume saleswoman who died here.
Oh.
And you can smell her floral perfume through the halls.
Oh.
Speaking of this perfume saleswoman, I guess Heather also does automatic writing, which if you don't know what that is, it's like kind of going into like this trance and not moving, either moving your hand in spirals or some sort of repetitive motion, and then just kind of letting the guides. It's almost like you're the Ouija planchette, if that makes sense. Like all of a sudden, like you'll just kind of start writing things without knowing what you're writing. And
which, like, by the way, really freaks me out. Like, just the idea of it has always really freaked me out. Like,
I don't know enough about it, so I'm still like super I guess hesitant to believe that it is real, but then again, everything else has like the potential to be real or not real. So I'm open-minded to it. I just don't understand it, and I think that's what freaks me out, because if it's real, like that's crazy.
Yeah, right? It's that like unknown version of it. Like love, and then it's like in someone's body that they maybe don't know about. It's like very creepy.
It's just bizarre. It's just it's so wild. So while during automatic writing, Heather was talking, I think, to the perfume saleswoman, and these are the words she got: sex, mistress, lover, tall, dark, handsome, mustache, killed, bled to death.
Wait, that's like a whole Mad Lib sentence.
That's like I want to snap to it, like it's poetry. Like that's but it's like everyone was its own statement of sex, mistress, lover, tall, dark, handsome, mustache, killed, bled to death. Which, like, yikes. And, like, I mean, I can't imagine thinking, like, oh, I'm going to go into an automatic writing session and we'll just see what happens. And you get those string of words?
Right, that, like, paints a full picture of a full story. Like, that's a full, like, arc. That has a beginning, middle, and end.
It really does. It told me everything. I feel like I learned a whole situation there.
Oh, my God.
There are also several accounts of children ghosts in the hotel. I don't know if it's one child or multiple children, but it seems like it's multiple.
I don't love
that
it.
all know each other.
They know each other. For some reason, that makes me hate it more. I'm like, they're gonna gang up on us.
They all like play together, I guess. You know what freaks me out is that there have been some times, I think this actually happened in the Ghost Adventures episode, where one of the ghosts answered for another about its own history. So it's like the ghosts know of each other's stories, even though they didn't die together. So like I've seen cases of like a ghost that died in one century is answering questions about a ghost that died in a different century. So it's like, oh, you are like cognizant of each other and like you know each other's stories to be able to answer.
Like gossip sessions. They're like, how did you know? How did you get here?
And that's how I hope it goes, because when I die, I'm not about to like not ask everybody like what's your deal? Like how did we all get here? But I wonder if it's actually a gossip session or if like they just all become like omnipresent, all-knowing beings. I don't know. It's all odd. It's something I feel like if I were a little stoned, I could talk about it for the rest of the time. So several accounts of children in the hotel. Many people say that they hear children laughing and running up and down the halls and up and down the staircase and knocking on doors. There have been a lot of cases of people hearing little kids knocking on the door and giggling, and then they open the door and no one's there.
No.
Or calling down to the front desk and being like, whose kids are here because they are running up and down the halls and we can't sleep, and then they're the only people that were booked on that floor.
Oh.
There's one little girl people have seen literally walking into walls, or they've heard her giggling when they see her, she vanishes. During a wedding, kids were apparently seen in pictures of the ceremony that weren't invited.
Oh my God. Can you imagine getting your wedding pictures back and being like, oh my God, they're going to be so beautiful. And then like a fucking ghost is in the middle of your professional portrait.
And like, I hope it's the ghost having a blast, because if I got a ghost just like standing there with like dead eyes, like staring into the camera, I'd be like, this is something no one's even going to believe me about. Like, I can't even I can't even bond with anyone in this trauma. I just have to know it happened.
You didn't even go to the speakeasy I put in the attic.
I know. Like, I would like to think if I'm throwing a party and a ghost is there, the ghost is, like, if I get a picture of a ghost, she's gonna look like she's throwing the fuck down. Like, she's dancing like she's Snooki at Jersey Shore, you know? If I just got a ghost not partying, I'd be offended. I'd be like, oh my god, they don't even like my party. That's crazy.
Oh my gosh, Snooki as a ghost. I would also like a reality star ghost at some point because that seems less threatening and also very fun.
Were you part of the Jersey Shore generation? Because that was definitely my scene.
No, I wasn't really, but I'm just like transplanting that into my love of all the terrible things that I watch.
Well, I think Jersey Shore was the first real reality show I was invested in, and to this day, there's still like a kind of a TikTok trend where people will impersonate each of the Jersey Shore people because they each had such a specific dance that they would all do on when they would go out to the club together. Like one of them was like known to dance a certain way, one of them was danced to known a different way. So there's like this trend that like everyone's dancing like all the people from Jersey Shore. I want to see if I ever got a picture of a ghost at my wedding. They better be dancing like at least one of the Jersey Shore cast. Like that's how you know they'd have a good time.
They better be imitating a TikTok, otherwise, or doing a TikTok, they will be happy that you have haunted them.
I think this is still the children. In room 204, a couple apparently saw a little girl in pajamas walk into their bedroom and then just vanish. I don't know if she just vanished before their very eyes or if she was like hiding under the bed and then they looked again and she was gone. I don't know how creepy it is, but I guess they thought that she was part of a family that had booked out a bunch of rooms at the hotel because there was like a quinceañera or something.
Gotcha.
And so I guess they thought one of those girls had wandered into their room looking for her family. And by the time they called the front desk, she was just gone.
Gotcha.
In room 104, people's ankles get pulled, beds move. Apparently the lamps turn on and off by themselves. The sink runs by itself.
No.
And you can hear a woman giving a toast.
Okay, I have mixed feelings about that.
It sounds like it could go really well. Like maybe she's just like the ultra hype woman, like giving you a toast to like brushing your teeth in the hotel. Like we love dental care. I don't know.
We love dental care.
I don't know. I would like to think if there's a ghost giving a toast and I have to listen to it, it better be about me.
Put me on that docket.
It's like, I don't want to hear you talk about someone I don't even know all night long. It's so annoying.
It could go a ton of different ways because I feel like toasts go a ton of different ways, right? They're either like kind of boring or they really nail it, or they're like the back and forth toasts of bridesmaids where they're just like passive aggressively trying to one up each other.
Actually, wait, maybe they're from the same place, the girl who's giving a toast and the girl who's like going to parties at weddings. Maybe it's the same. Now someone has to play like that song, someday somebody's gonna make you mad. Yep. I would like to see my ghost get down to that song, actually, and now that we're making wishes.
Correct. And to pull it full circle back to reality shows, if that toast ghost can also be spilling some tea about the party ghost in the toast.
God. Eva, we need to relax.
Just get it all.
It's getting ill. I can't. No, it's perfectly fine. For me, I don't know where everyone else is. So there's also a ghost. Hey, this person could also be at the wedding. There's a ghost that likes to play piano in the bar.
Oh, fun.
Didn't Billy Joel write about him or something? The piano barman.
Yeah.
So the piano man is there. Mm-hmm. And allegedly this is one of the guests who actually passed away either in the hotel or he passed away but loved the hotel and he loved playing piano there. So they still hear him playing piano at night.
Oh, I like that for the ghost. Like, I feel like that's a nice afterlife to just, like, play piano in a bar. That seems chill.
I also wonder, does he actually need the physical piano? Or if they were to move it one day, would you still hear piano in the house?
Or if his hat is buried under the piano.
Wait, it could. Honestly, they should just tear up every wall and see how many hats are back there. Another ghost is Harvey Van Norman, who was the assistant to William Mulholland, which, if you live in LA, you know that William Mulholland is the namesake of Mulholland Drive, aka one of the worst fucking drives ever. It's one of those windy ass roads that is always backed up. I think
Yeah.
they tell you it's a beautiful drive, like maybe at midnight, but like I have only ever gotten stuck in horrible traffic there.
Yeah, my dad was really adamant that my family visited back in August that he wanted to drive Mulholland, and I was like, okay, here's the snippet of Mulholland that I'm willing to do. It was like just like a couple miles, and we
I
stopped at some
imagine
like
I
yeah.
imagine it's like when people go to San Francisco and they're like, I want to go down Lombard Street, and it's like, no, you don't. No, you do not. But except instead of Lombard Street being like a couple, like not that long of a drive, Mulholland literally goes around like an entire fucking mountain. Like you're
Oh,
stuck. Once you decide you're taking Mulholland
yeah.
Drive, get ready. You're there forever.
Yeah, it's like I when we looked it up, it's like I mean, I don't want to give the wrong number, but it was like so long, and that's why I was like, okay, I will go between Laurel and Coldwater because those are like
Ugh.
up downs,
I
like
was gonna say Coldwater is even fucking worse. I hate Coldwater.
oh, Coldwater's
Coldwater
yeah.
Canyon. I cannot stand. Uh,
This is LA complaints corner.
This is like if I ever have to like meet up with somebody and the only thing in between us is Mulholland Drive or Coldwater Canyon, I'm not going. I'll be like, I'll see you some other time.
Goodbye.
Yeah, so one of the ghosts is Harvey Van Norman, who was the assistant to William Mulholland, and apparently he's been seen at the lobby fireplace wearing a vintage brown suit with a coat and
Hmm.
hat, and he has literally spoken to people and like sat down and had coffee with them.
Oh, cute.
Is that like not bananas though? Like that's the ghost story you're always hoping happens is that a posh gentleman will just share a cup of tea and then go away. Like
Yeah, also if I'm gonna get haunted, I would like to not know during the haunting that I was haunted and then
well,
afterwards be like, oh, that was fun in hindsight.
that's exactly it. He apparently later people would say like, "Oh, where's the man we were talking to?" And they'd be like, "Oh, that's Harvey."
Ooh, that's
That's
a
Harvey.
Harvey. He built a really long road we don't want to drive.
Well, so what's interesting about Harvey being the assistant to William Mulholland is William Mulholland himself has a history with the hotel. So it's interesting that his assistant shows
Oh.
up there because William Mulholland there I didn't know this, but apparently he was responsible for like a massive flood disaster. It was called like the dam disaster, St.
Oh
Francis
shit.
dam disaster. And like in the area alone, I think like 500 people died.
Oh my God.
Um, because I don't know how he was responsible for it. I guess he was in charge of the materials that were cheap or something, and it caused the dam to break. Um, but so apparently, the hotel itself, when everything was coming through the town and destroying the town and killing all these people, the hotel itself was like a disaster emergency space for people to like go seek refuge.
Oh my God.
So it's interesting that his assistant is seen there often.
Yeah.
Maybe he was there for like damage control or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah. That also makes me wonder too that like I mean Mulholland is such a windy, twisty, dangerous road itself. I wonder if that has like a paranormal history too, just from all of the
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. It's such a dangerous road.
yeah.
So yeah, so people see him and then they're like, "Oh, that's Harvey." Other ghosts have been women who are a woman is seen on the first floor walking through the walls. A lot of people are walking through walls. Another ghost has been seen taking care of someone in bed as if they saw like a replay of her taking care of somebody.
Oh.
One guest's makeup kit was thrown at the wall, like really,
Yikes.
really violently. People will hear whispering at night. They'll hear their name being called to them, which I hate.
Yeah, I
Um,
hate no. That's too personal.
Too personal, unless you're the toast girl. Then you can say my name all you want.
Hmm hmm hmm
Things get knocked off of dressers. Guest items would get stolen. Super creepy. Rooms would be deadbolted from the inside and no one was in there. So someone was locking people out of the rooms.
Yuck. That's also kind of a fun prank, but also yuck.
Also, yuck. People feel someone watching them or walking behind them, and then they turn around and no one's there. They'll
Mm-mm.
see things from the corner of their eye. People feel like they're being pulled out of their beds at night,
Oh, I hate
um,
that.
and the curtains move on their own.
Oh, no.
A lot of employees would work upstairs only in pairs, like would do the buddy system because they were so scared of the third floor. And a
Yeah.
previous owner one time was sitting on the toilet. This is the worst time to ever have a ghost experience.
Hmm hmm
Was sitting on the toilet and watched the doorknob move, and then the doorknob fell out of its hole, and then she was locked inside the bathroom for 30 minutes.
Goodbye. No, thank you. I mean, no.
No,
No.
no. I mean, and I actually, yeah, always. Every time I'm on the toilet, which by the way is pretty darn often. at least once in every session, I'm like, what if a ghost came right now?
Really?
What? Yes,
Oh my
it's a
gosh.
huge fear of mine because I'm like, what do I do? Like,
Do you have a plan? If you've thought about it this much, do you have a contingency bathroom haunting plan?
I have thought many times about how ill prepared I am. Like that's that's the situation. Because also,
Got
I
it.
I think it stemmed from like real house issues. Where like, what if you're on the toilet and like a fire happens, or like, what if you're on
Oh.
the toilet and like someone breaks in, like I've thought about that stuff, and then I'm like, what if a ghost like just like I don't know, swung the door open. I don't know.
Okay,
I
just
like how in that case the worst scenario is it swung the door open, but
I mean, she did get, it sounds like the manager, right? Did get trapped in the bathroom, so like that's not fun either.
yeah, but at least if you're trapped in a bathroom, at least you're trapped in the one spot with a toilet, you know?
That is true.
The
That's a
worst
really good
thing
point.
is what if you're trapped in a bathroom and you really gotta go and there's no toilet paper?
Oh, yeah. Or if
That's
like
a nightmare.
the plumbing is haunted too, like that's kind of a nightmare if you're in there with
No, nothing is scarier than the water pressure not being good.
the water
You know?
pressure.
There's nothing more terrifying, especially on a family trip. Good night.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm. And good luck.
Okay, so chairs and items in the restaurant will move on their own and fly across the room. Apparently, people hear scratching on the walls.
Oh.
There have been impressions on the bed as if someone's sitting down. People have woken up to feeling like they're being strangled in the middle of the night.
Oh, I don't like that. No.
One employee saw a woman in a vintage dress and no shoes on the third floor where nobody was
Wow.
staying, and it looked like she was floating.
Ooh, that's creepy. Oh my gosh.
There's also a spirit named Helen, who's apparently in her 30s, who wears a dress with flowers on it. Very fashionable Helen.
Oh, Helen.
And then there's a woman who is known to look out the window of the hotel, and another will knock things over into your lap in the lobby. So there's like quotes of people just sitting on the lobby couch, and all of a sudden like the lamp will start like scooting over and then just go boop and just like fall into their lap.
So a cat ghost.
It feels like a cat ghost, or it feels
Right?
like at least a very precious attempt for attention of like, hello, doop.
Yeah, like a kid or something being like, "Do you notice? Do you notice now? Do you notice now?"
That feels silly. I'm
Mhm.
okay with that one. That felt silly.
Yeah.
People
yeah.
feel things brush by them when no one's around, like someone walked into them. Some people will see shadow figures at the foot of their bed. No thanks. Apparently other people have had sleep paralysis.
Ugh.
One guy said, here it's super creepy. One guy said that he's convinced it gave him nightmares of run-ins with doppelgangers of himself trying to
Oh.
hurt himself.
Oh. Oh God.
There was like
Yikes.
a nightmare where like a guy in a hood or a cloak or something came at him, and when he pulled the hood off, it was himself. And ugh.
Oh God, that's really intense. That's like something you see as like a twist in like a I was thinking about the Star Wars where Rey sees herself in the like mirrors all the way down. But it's like that's like so dramatic you see it at like the climax of like a franchise blockbuster, not like in your
I
own
know.
dreams. Yikes.
Unless you're like, I don't know, George Lucas, and you can like just envision that shit for yourself.
Unless you already have like the 3-story arc like set in your brain.
There's another spirit of a woman with one eye who apparently guests have witnessed getting murdered on repeat.
Oh my God.
That one is the most insane to me.
Oh
I don't
no.
I don't know if the one eye, if she was just like a woman with one eye, or like if like they see her getting murdered and part of it leads to her having one eye.
Oh.
I'm not sure about that, but they say that they have seen her residual haunting of her getting murdered.
Oh, that's so awful. Also, I'm sorry I feel like I reacted poorly to the one eye part, but because we talked about real monsters so much, I think I was picturing
No,
the
I totally I'm
real
with you.
monsters in real life that you just sent me.
The real thing would have been holding the one eye in the hand and massive blue lips and completely naked. That would have that's the real scare there.
Yeah, yeah.
There's some EVPs that people have caught. One of them saying, "Emily, I love you," which is so sweet.
Oh, that is sweet.
Another saying, "Please help." Not so sweet.
No.
There, and then after "Please help," it was followed by sounds of splashing in the bathroom.
Oh no. Like
Yeah.
Oh no.
I'm assuming that means like a drowning or something.
Ooh.
Right before a bunch of ghost equipment machines went off for no reason, the Ovulus said disaster.
Oh God.
And then one time when asking the ghost to turn off the lights, a child's voice got caught on a recorder saying, "I won't make it do that."
Oh, oh gosh, the ones that are like in between, like someone being like, "No, that sounds too much,
Yeah.
like too much," and it's already scary. It's like,
Ugh.
oh, what else is happening that I don't know about?
This one is weird, but I'm going to say it anyway. Another
Mhm.
EVP was found in the allegedly Houdini suite.
Uh-huh.
And the EVP was "I need milk," which
Hmm.
apparently people equate that to one of Houdini's big escape tricks was the milk can escape trick,
Oh.
which was one of Houdini's favorite tricks he ever did. So I think they hear "I need milk" and assume it's like, oh, like his if he kept all of his magic tricks up here, maybe he needed milk to practice his trick.
Gotcha, yeah.
Or it could be like a little kid ghost who needs milk, who knows.
Or someone that just wanted to fortify their bones.
Someone who wanted some moo juice.
Oh my God.
So if Christine were here, she would hang up on me. Um,
I can do it by
so
proxy. I didn't like it either.
so weirdly, some people have also experienced trance-like sleepiness and slept through all of their alarms.
Oh.
Um, and some after that even wake up to figures in the room.
That's like a double
S-
whammy. It's like, sorry, you don't get to wake up for the thing you're here for, and also you're
Yeah.
gonna be terrified.
So there was one guy and his girlfriend who stayed in room 307, which is apparently the most haunted. And even though it was super early, they like fell asleep for no reason. They planned on being there all night awake ghost hunting, but they couldn't keep their eyes open. They're like, let's just take a 1 hour nap. And so they closed their eyes and they woke up without any alarms or anything, both at the same time
Oh
at
God.
3 a.m. sharp.
No. No.
And when trying to get back to sleep, his girlfriend said that she couldn't because, quote, "there is someone looking at me."
Ugh, I like that they were there specifically to ghost hunt, but then they were like, forget it, we're just gonna sleep. This is not great.
It's like something like shut that shit down. It was like, you're gonna go to bed.
Yeah, don't look at us, we're gonna look at you.
Ugh, I hate that. So
Hmm.
the same couple left a recorder on when they went to dinner earlier that night, just to see if they got anything in the room. And they heard a door creaking, they got a woman gasping, and they heard a loud bang like something hit the recorder.
Ooh.
The scariest part of all of this, by the way, this was a Reddit post, and this user's name was Cheeseburger Cat.
Love it.
So
Love it so much.
Cheeseburger Cat, at the very beginning of his post, says, "There is no elevator, just one giant staircase." So that's how I would have immediately never gone here.
Uh-huh.
Um, but just so everyone else knows, the scariest part of it all to me is that. So next up, I wanted to tell you about the TV shows I watched. Obviously, I tried to watch Teen Cribs and give everyone the 411 on that, but it's not going to happen. Instead, I'll tell
Mm.
you really quickly about Dead Files, which was season 4,
Mm.
episode 7. And the psychic Amy did catch on to surprisingly a lot of things, but definitely sensed a darker presence than anything I had heard or seen of online.
Mm.
She said the guy was in all black, walking up and down the hallways. He doesn't like women. He had apparently told
Ugh.
her that he's, quote, dealt with women like her before.
Oh, wow. Yikes.
He's
Hate that.
apparently very physical and likes messing with people. He
Mm.
knows how to induce fear, and he doesn't like
Ugh.
when people are in his room, which is 308, and he tries to make the room very weird and disturbing so they'll leave.
Oh my God, this really ratcheted up. I feel like a lot of things up until could be like, were like very creepy, but this is like, but you can't really, it's like the kind of ghost it's like, was that malicious? Was that just because you're a ghost and you don't know? This one is
I
like, no,
know.
I'm a ghost and I hate you and I'm gonna do everything I can to fuck with you.
Well, so interesting too is that they gave a lot more information on the history of the building than what I had seen anywhere else. So apparently there was a cowboy who shot his wife's lover like only a half a block away. So they think maybe he's one of the people that has been haunting the area. There's also a story of a woman who I guess was a manager of the hotel, and in the middle of the night she got stabbed by one of the guests.
Yikes.
And then also the family that was living there at the time, which I think was Teen Cribs girl,
Mm-hmm.
MTV Teen Cribs. Her family was there at the time that they filmed Dead Files. So it was her
Oh.
parents that were running the hotel in this moment, and the mom had like this weird possession adjacent
Ooh.
attachment You know how like a lot of
Yikes.
before possessions, they're like obsessed with the house and they can't leave the house, and when they leave the house, their behavior's back to normal, but when they go back to the house, it's like has this weird hold on them.
Oh
She
yeah.
said that her mom was dealing with that, and the whole family was like, "Let's get the fuck out of here! Like none of us feel safe."
Yeah.
I think their housekeepers were getting grabbed or something. I don't remember
Oh.
what it was, but they were like, "We don't want to be here anymore." And I think the girl from Teen Cribs even said, "Sometimes I feel like my mom loves the house more than us." So
Oh, that's so sad and
like
weird.
a weird hold on some of the family. So it
Yeah.
implies some sort of a disregarding the potential of like maybe just some like mental health issues. If it's paranormal, it's it feels a little like a possession situation,
Yeah.
pre-possession.
Yikes.
Um and maybe not even mental health issues, but like maybe the mom was just going through something. Who knows what this? But
Right.
if it's paranormal, it feels a little demonic.
Mm-hmm.
So in Ghost Adventures, that was season 7, episode 17. Shout out to Christine's Discovery Plus account. And
Cheers.
uh, cheers. And Zach is talking to the new general manager named Monica. So I guess the family eventually did convince the mom to leave, and now it's in this woman Monica's hands.
Got it.
Or was, but when this Ghost Adventures episode was being filmed.
Mm.
So the first week that she moved in, I guess the general manager's room is 106. And when she was moving into her room, she was reaching for papers or something, and she saw someone walk past her. So she turned, and it was a woman standing there staring at her and then disappeared into the wall. Like, that's your welcome into this job. Like, that's the job.
Hi,
Like,
just saying hello.
hashtag above my pay grade. Like, I not here for it. By the way, shout out to this episode. It was a super good episode if you're looking for like creep factor. But just to give you some like highlights, I guess Billy didn't go on the walkthrough with them, so they asked if he would stay in the hotel a night by himself without knowing anything, even though the rest of the group had found out stuff. So he went by himself. 10 minutes in, he turns on the Ovulus, the Microsoft Sam machine, and it got these words all in an order: before, spell, soil, friendly, cards, and then 3 minutes later it said goodbye, Oracle.
Oh.
And it's weird.
Yeah.
So they used these words and kind of assumed. I mean, it was Zach plus TV plus the best guesswork they could do. And they assumed that the Ovulus was talking about things that were going to happen the next night. Because I guess all of the words were able to kind of fit into events that happened the next night when they did their investigation.
Oh, interesting.
Especially Goodbye Oracle, they brought like a psychic that came, and so it was, and all of it kind of made sense under that guise, although I am very aware of the potential inaccuracy or the lack of realism there.
Sure.
I guess orbs flew into Billy's face while he was sleeping, and even though usually I'd be like, okay, yeah, orbs, whatever, they apparently landed on his face, and in that exact moment, he also wakes up from sleeping and decides to turn on the Ovulus. And this, I guess, was the room where sex workers would do their services.
Gotcha.
And so he felt something on his face, which was caught on camera via orbs. Turns on the Ovulus, and he immediately gets the words blow and gentle. And so he thinks it might be a sex worker. He immediately feels something grab his thigh, or his thigh spasms, and then the Oracle says thigh.
Oh my gosh. Oh, okay, so
I'm sorry, I said Oracle. The Ovulus says thigh.
Got it. No, I understood.
Which is super creepy because, like, an Ovulus, it's not programmed. It just says, it's like there's no, of all the words that it's programmed to say, that it's for it to come in as that word, and in that exact moment when you can't time responses, it came in at the exact time where he like looked at the camera and said something's touching my thigh, and the word thigh showed up.
Yeah, that's really creepy and timed, like, specifically. Yeah.
Then he says, "Did you touch my thigh?" And the Ovulus says, "Right." As in, which I think means like correct.
Or was it his right thigh?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. So later the next night during investigations, they all hear a little girl whistling upstairs. The
Ugh.
housekeeper's pants got tugged on.
Ugh.
They also hear the same little girl humming later, and then her voice upstairs singing. And during all of this, the ovulus says, girl.
Ugh.
Creepo.
Yeah, no.
So then they use the spirit box, the thing that goes.
Oh, God, I already hate that because it's so scary already.
It's so jarring.
Yeah.
And so they say, what's your name? And the spirit box says, Ingrid.
Oh my God. So, like, had a real name
intelligent
ready.
response.
Wow.
And then in the room 308, one of the more haunted ones, they said, can you tell me who's in here? And the spirit box said, I can help.
And then it said, helpful. Thank you.
It's like, thank you. Then he asked, tell me who you are. And the spirit box said, Majita, which apparently is Spanish for my little girl.
Oh, yeah. Mijita.
Mijita.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Then in an empty room, they were like not investigating this room, but a camera's microphone picks up a man whispering, I was shot.
Calvin?
Maybe Calvin.
Calvin!
And then later on, because they had already had a psychic come in and do like tarot readings and like talk about the things that he had seen in his past visits there.
Wait, I'm so sorry. I was actually thinking, I didn't know that there was tarot there, but when Oracle also, there are Oracle cards. That made me think of it earlier. So if there were tarot readings there.
That makes sense. Okay. There you have it.
Sorry.
No. So after the psychic left, or the tarot reader left, Zach has the spirit box and says, what is the name of the family's oracle who was sitting right there? And the spirit box said Patrick, which was his name.
Oh, wow. Yikes. That's really creepy.
Also on the spirit box, he later says, address yourself. Who are you? And the spirit box says, Marcia. And then there's a silence, like the spirit box isn't acting up at all. And Zach says, Marcia, are you there? And the spirit box says, yeah, I'm here.
Yep.
I'm just like not interested.
It's our reality star ghost again.
They later ask, what do you want? Like Zach asks, what do you want? And the spirit box says, be gone.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Eventually, which feeds into this Reddit poster, Cheeseburger Cat, who said that he had completely like fallen into this weird trance, like sleep and all that. Zach starts acting super weird. He doesn't even remember doing this. He says he blacked out. He walks upstairs, locks himself in a room by himself. Nobody can find him. He like goes full blown missing. He won't respond to anybody shouting for him. And when they find him, he's like on the bed, barely conscious.
Oh my God.
He said he went into this like crazy trance and he lost time. He had no idea how he got up there. And during this, when the rest of his crew end up finding him, footsteps start creaking in empty rooms and they hear tapping. And it's almost as if the ghost is trying to distract them from finding him.
Oh, shit. Like in other places, not where he is.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And then they get an EVP of a man's voice saying, sleep in here. Which is...
Oh, I hate that. To like him like trying to put Zach to sleep. Ugh.
So the last thing I'm going to say is that I've said before, there were paranormal conferences held there. And one of them is called, I don't know what this one was officially called, but it was one of the Paracons or paranormal conventions, which I don't know why we haven't gone to those yet.
No, yeah.
But next week I'm going to talk about a particular instance that happened at one of these conferences, which leads me back into talking about the psychic Heather Woodward, because let's just say she saw some stuff, or did she? Did she?
Oh, wait, I'm so excited because that could go so many ways, because I feel like you cover so many psychics that like either get debunked or don't, but like that's so interesting. Okay, I'm really excited.
So anyway, the part 2 next week will be a seance that was done at this conference.
Oh, a seance.
And what may or may not have been seen.
Oh,
that's all I'm going to say.
Okay. Oh my gosh. So
and that's
exciting.
The first half of the Glen Tavern Inn.
Oh my gosh. That was so good.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay. I'm so excited for a seance and a psychic and all the drama, the reality TV drama next. I mean, I'm adding the last part in, but
well, we can just watch reality TV after we record. Let's just
Okay,
can just
perfect.
be what we do instead, and just talk about Jersey Shore and Below Deck, and we have to talk about the Plaths. We
We
still have to.
do. I need to.
Ugh.
We gotta watch that. It's just
For for
burning.
those of you who don't know and can't figure it out for yourselves yet, Eva and I really bonded over quarantine with reality TV shows. So, anyway, you miss out on some really good conversations, and we need to watch it. That's apparently the new season is insane.
I've heard that one's like really wild. Yeah, we definitely got to get into that for sure. I can't wait. There's so many.
First,
Yeah.
I was gonna say first,
Mhm.
you gotta tell me a story.
I have a story for you that shout out yet again to my friend Ellen. This is my second set of notes that I have used from her. She is a godsend. Thank you, Ellen. Ellen of Trial Crew. She is great. Trial Crew is so fun and great.
Also, you did say in your texts that like this one's gonna like tickle me. That it's like, is it a silly story or something? Like, what's
Oh,
the?
no, sorry. I meant that about the story about my the screaming light switch in my
Oh,
car.
I was tickled, so I guess you were still right. While you look for your notes, let me do a classic cracking of the can for
Yes.
Let's Crack Into It. Okay, ASMR people, get ready for the cracking of a can. Ooh. Ooh, I don't know if that meant anything to anyone but me, but I had a good time doing it.
Cheers.
By the way, shout out to Arizona Tea. I recently discovered their merch website, and wow, it's so extensive.
Didn't you also get a
Um,
shirt of theirs from a thrift store that's like exactly their can?
okay, so funny you mentioned that. I went home to Fredericksburg literally on like such a whim. Like I accidentally ended up in Fredericksburg, and I decided I guess Fredericksburg now is becoming like hip and cool and shit, and all of the stores that used to be like very boring to visit are now turning into like really cool Gen Z thrift shops. And when I was there, the very first shirt I picked up looked like it was literally the Arizona Tea Can design. And I was like, you're coming home with me. I keep using, by the way, I keep using that TikTok sound, and I'm sorry for everyone who doesn't understand the reference. But I saw that shirt. You're coming home with me.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there's no way this is literally, it's too, like, someone should have been sued for how accurate this design is because it looks just like the Arizona Tea Can. I ended up looking it up. It is literally one of many Arizona Tea Can shirts. And they are all so cool. I literally, okay, for Christmas, this is so sad, but half of my wish list is like a bunch of Arizona Tea Can merch. But it's so cool. So, Arizona Tea Can merch company, if you're listening, I love you and I want all of what you're
Oh
offering.
my gosh, this is just a brand shout out of all the.
It really is free, just a total free advertisement. But like,
Mhm.
if you know someone who likes an Arizona Tea Can, you're gonna find something clothes wise on their website you're gonna like.
It is a really nice shirt. Like it's so specific and like
And it's so soft. Also,
it does
I
look so
got it and it
soft.
was very weathered, so I think someone like broke it in for me, but
Mhm.
it's my favorite shirt currently. Moving
Okay.
on, you were about to talk about
No,
murder.
I did find my notes, and I'm so sorry I led you to believe this is a silly story because sadly it's very sad.
That tracks since we're talking about crime.
Yeah. So, this is the story of Susan and Richard Hamlin.
Okay. I to no one's surprise, I don't know what that is or
Yeah,
what the story is.
so I only had like an inkling. There's one part that I'll tell you about later that I sort of remembered, like it kind of it triggered in my brain and I was like, "Oh my gosh, did Christine cover this at a live show?" And
Did she?
I don't think she did. I looked through shout out again to your episode guide.
Ah, thank you.
I looked really, really diligently through that, and I went through the audio, the old live show audio. And I kind of realized, I think I just remember us, like me and Ellen and Caitlin and Suze talking about it in Trial Crew. So I think I just remember this
Oh,
one twist part and being like, oh, that was just us talking about it. Sorry, I'm
fine. Okay.
itching my eye.
Well, I'm glad you it clearly resonated with you to want to do
Yeah.
it. So, all right.
Yeah, there's one, yeah, just the one spot. I'll let you know later. But so, of all these sources together, these are Ellen's Notes, CBS Sacramento, California Bar Journal, Village Life, Evil Lives Here, an ID show, Trapped in Hell, season 2, episode 9. There's also a blog online that like kind of pulls all that information. And I'll talk about this later, but a somewhat questionable old true crime blog called Skeptic's Dictionary that I'll mention at the
Ooh.
end.
Okay, cool.
So, this is kind of a doozy. It starts with, to set the stage, 2004, successful attorney Susan Hamlin walks into a Sacramento police station and confessed to witnessing a murder, plotting to kill her husband,
Oh.
who is a local prosecutor, Richard Hamlin.
Oh, God. Okay.
And, sorry, it gets sad pretty immediately, subjecting her 4 children to physical and sexual abuse for years.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
she claims in this confession that it was all for and with her father's satanic cult.
Wow, a lot of twists. Okay.
Yeah, lot front loaded here. So now we're gonna backtrack a little bit.
Well done with the, if we were in English class in 8th grade and my teacher's saying, you need a hook to really lead people in. You really hooked me. So
This story alone, like, because the story kind of starts here in general, just a lot of places, just because it's like, this is where, the police first hear about it. This is where people start to like hear what happened. So it's kind of like a shocking, it's also really shocking because it's like they're, both attorneys, they're wealthy suburbanites from Sacramento, like in a Sacramento suburb. And it's like, how did they go from, right, wealthy suburbanites to satanic cults?
yeah, like definitely I guess a leap. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Susan and Richard met in law school at the University of Pacific's McGeorge School of Law. They only dated for about 6 months before Richard proposed to Susan on Valentine's Day.
Wow.
I know, yeah, a little short, but
Well, you know. Okay.
no judgment, exactly.
Yeah.
After they were married, Susan went on to work at one of the top law firms in Sacramento, and meanwhile, Richard became a highly successful prosecutor in the area.
Huh.
They had 4 children, and Richard soon convinced, after they had these children, convinced Susan that she wanted to become a stay-at-home mom, which obviously no judgment either way on that specific thing.
Yeah, I'm not loving the convinced her.
Correct. Yeah, the forcing
honestly,
and or convincing is...
I'm a huge fan of the idea of being a stay-at-home parent one day.
Yeah.
So that is not my problem.
For sure, yes.
But if someone were like, you so want this, I'd be like, now I don't know if I do.
Yeah, yeah, it's the thing of like...
You telling me makes me
right, like bypassing the like, what's best for you, what are you comfortable with, of like...
It's manipulating consent, thinking that you want this when it's like, now I'm unsure if she did.
That's a really good way to put it. No, manipulating consent is like a really good way to put it because it's like you're like in the eyes of a lot of, the top level, like looking at it, it looks like because she then went on to quit her job and become a stay-at-home mom. So it looks like she made the decision herself when it's really
she was
like
totally coerced into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems like it. Yeah. She did end up leaving her job to stay home and raise the kids. The Hamlins, yet again, like so many that Christine talks about on here, that you even mentioned earlier, were pillars of the community.
Uh-huh.
They went to events. They went to all their kids', games, sports games, neighborhood parties, church, local events. They were just highly visible and highly respected in their community.
Gotcha.
After 17 years of marriage, Richard transitioned to a successful private practice where he started making $700,000 a year.
Okay, Richard.
So lots coming in. And so with that amount of money that he was then able to, by the late 1990s, the Hamlins moved into a $1 million hilltop home in El Dorado Hills, Colorado, which is a she suburb of Sacramento.
You do not have, the name alone gave it away, Eva.
Right, yeah. I know, it has that, like, it's like the same thing, I feel like I always say this, but like how high school friends' names always sound like high school friends' names. This is like a wealthy suburb always sounds like a wealthy suburb.
I like, just saying that, I felt dirty not having my pinky up listening to you.
And high tea at a, what is it, yacht club? Probably not a yacht club, but okay.
Could be, who knows.
So they seemed like a normal, well-off family, even though things were starting to spiral downward at this point. So it starts with, Richard basically starts asking Susan a lot of questions, which questions are fine, but he starts specifically asking about her own childhood and kind of prodding into, like, more specifically, did your father abuse you? Did your father sexually abuse you as a kid? And, like, she hadn't brought that up, like, he brought it to her to be like, hi, did this happen to you?
And they were married already?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So do we find out why he's now asking out of the blue? I feel like if you were to ask, or if that conversation were to be addressed, it would happen before you got. I mean, I don't know people's life stories, but it feels like something that would have already been in the general knowledge of their relationship.
Right, or based on something that he noticed or saw and,
Right,
was
sure.
taking a clue from. So he claims that he was uncomfortable with how affectionate her father was with her, meaning,
Oh,
yeah, that their hugs and like kisses on the cheek were too intimate seeming,
okay.
which,
Okay.
right, jury's out because obviously both of those things can be very consensual, very not consensual. So,
Like, yeah, I don't know where I stand yet cuz I haven't
right,
seen it with my own eyes, but
right,
I also know like 50% of me wants to be like fuck you for judging like how
yeah,
a parent and child love on each other.
hmm,
And second of all, it's like, wait, was it actually looking really creepy and out of character? Like what's
right,
happened? So
yeah.
I don't know.
No, for sure. It feels very nuanced. But then Susan does initially deny anything. Like she's like, "Oh, no, that's not what's happening here."
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Denied remembering any abuse.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know cuz I was going to say like growing up like my family were New Yorkers. I don't know if that's like if it that makes it a regional thing.
Hmm.
I feel like anyone else I've talked to who was like on my side about it were New
Yeah.
Yorkers, but I was one of those kids who like until I got much older, I like kissed my parents on the lips all the time. Like that was
Yeah.
like it was just like it's like kissing them on the cheek, but it was on the mouth and it was never grossly sexual. It was just like
Right.
how it felt like oh, it's just what you do.
No,
And
exactly.
I've seen people say some like conflicting opinions on that and I'm like, well, fuck you. Like that's not how things go.
No,
But if
exactly.
but if she's saying that it wasn't ever a like nothing happened. She says to this day nothing happened.
Exactly. Yeah. She's
Okay.
like everything like I was never uncomfortable by those things you noticed and also there was no abuse in my past. So that was kind
Gotcha.
of the baseline there. Exactly.
Gotcha.
Um so right, it's like don't don't judge this parent daughter
Yeah.
relationship.
Without
Exactly.
knowing what's going on. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And also like being told by her kind of what's going on. She seemed to
Right.
process it and then be like, no, I not that's not the case. And then sadly Richard kept at it. He wasn't stalled by Susan saying that that wasn't the case. He also pulled out old childhood photos of Susan sitting on her father's lap and of her sleeping during sleepovers.
Okay.
But again, Susan is like, no, like trying to remember anything possibly because they've been married for a while now. And she's like, I don't, there's nothing. Like, I don't,
So weird.
yeah, I see the same thing you are potentially thinking or seeing.
Like it may
Um,
be like out of context it could look weird, but it could also have just been like my upbringing and there was nothing wrong with it, you know?
yeah, exactly. Right.
Sure.
Yeah. So now Susan continues to try to remember because Richard keeps pressing her, but denies the allegations that Richard's bringing. And then the issue sort of morphs into Richard worrying that Susan has repressed memories and that she's not fully remembering everything, which is why she's denying everything that he's.
God, that's so manipulative
Isn't
of
that
like
awful?
now convincing her she has
Hmm.
memories she doesn't even remember because they don't
Yeah.
as far as we know exist.
Right. Which is then like you're planting something in there, which it like goes into like
Yeah.
brainwashing. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Because now she's gonna start like weirdly resenting her father or
Hmm.
something. And like, oh my God, wow, that gets really insidious really fast.
It's really hard and wild. Yeah. Especially like
Wow.
mentally, just in terms of like, right, brainwashing, like coercion. Probably not super. I don't know. This definitely gives away a lot about Richard and the whole situation. Is that at the around this time when he's like, "Oh, I think you have repressed memories," um, he also starts complaining that Susan wasn't sexual enough in their marriage.
Okay. Well, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Okay.
So we're instant like it's like there were some like back and forth like maybe questions, but I feel like that was the note where I was like, and he's a villain, and
Yeah.
it's him, and it's him. Here we are.
And men are still trash. Okay, that's where
Uh-huh.
we. Okay,
Correct.
yeah, yeah,
We've
yeah,
landed there. We got it.
yeah.
We're here.
It's like he had me manipulated for a second. I was
Uh-oh.
like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like no more benefit of the doubt in my
No.
mind.
Mm-mm.
Uh, okay. Sure. So now in the story, I am currently thinking I don't like this guy.
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
because he apparently demanded sex several times a day and tried to.
Girl, well, of course she would be like, I'm
I
no,
know.
thank you. I'm so busy. I'm
Right.
like, are you
They're
kidding?
both
Like,
like,
I'm all of a
yeah.
sudden a stay-at-home mom because you chose that for me. Like, I've got shit
Yeah.
going on. I can't. I no.
Right. Right. And like, right. It's also like no judgment if that is your schedule. Props to you if
Right.
that is a consensual
If you
schedule.
can, if you are both happy and you can make that work, good,
Yeah.
good. I can't. Good for
Thumbs
you.
up to you.
I need a nap like at least 5 times a day instead.
Correct. And also, right, the demanding is the like little like crux of the sentence there because he's demanding it
Hmm.
several times a day and he's trying to basically say like, wow, you don't want sex with me because you have these repressed memories of sexual
Yep.
abuse in your
Yep.
past that you're not taking care of or you're not
Hmm.
like noticing. So Ellen also pointed out in her notes that she sent to me that this was also a point where Susan recalls later than recalling back, remembers her mom telling her that, quote, marriage is hard and you really have to work at it. Which, like, things like that
Uh,
are, again, also kind of nuanced because obviously, like, what in life is super easy and also, like, you shouldn't, there are certain things you shouldn't have to work at, like, that are just
right.
like, this is bad and
Yeah.
you get
Yeah.
to say goodbye to that.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, I mean, as someone who has not even had to deal with like religious guilt or anything like that, I
Yeah.
still have heard from a lot of conservative people though of like, oh, you gotta like, I again keep in mind I like know of the Duggars and the Bates and all that, so that's where I'm getting my information from. But like I've heard them say like you have to like cater to your husband and like be willing and
Yeah.
available, and it's like, ugh, like you should just want to do it. And if you don't want to do it, then don't fucking do it.
Correct. It should be like a conversation. Yeah, that was some of the
A
stuff that I
mutual
got.
experience, a mutually fun
Correct. A
experience.
mutual experience. Should we all have mutual experiences? Yes, correct.
Hmm.
It's not like right. Obviously we don't need to right, but like the just the
But so
like pressure
I
and
say that,
manipulation and yeah.
yes, I say that because for her mom to be saying like, oh, sometimes life is hard and you have to make your marriage work, I could see somebody grasping at straws, hearing that and translating it for themselves into, if I don't want to do
Right.
this, I should still do it to keep my marriage, fulfilled.
Right, exactly. Yeah, especially when you're being so manipulated by the person that you're, quote unquote, supposed to be working it out with, and that person is saying it's not
Hmm.
their fault, it's some outer
Right.
thing coming into it. Yeah, that just feels like a really big, like, mind fuck. So, after multiple long talks with Richard, Susan still is like, I just don't think any of this happened. Like, I just don't really think it. But Richard is still not believing it. So Richard becomes obsessed with proving he was right about the abuse allegations. So he actually ends up quitting his job.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Can you
And
imagine being this poor woman's father and finding out that your son-in-law is on this weird manhunt to prove that you
yeah.
sexually assaulted your kid? Like,
Yeah, that comes in a little bit later too, because obviously the dad does find out. And
hmm.
right, it's just so bad. So, right, Richard became obsessed with this. He quit his job and started researching what he felt like was the biggest case of his career, which was the case against Susan's father.
Okay.
Yeah. So, not surprisingly, he became more and more controlling throughout this time. The Hamlin house was sort of in a form of lockdown, it sounds like. No one was allowed to answer the phone except Richard. He alone controlled all of the family's finances, which is always like a gross.
Never a good sign.
Yeah, that's not great. At that point, it's like yikes. Richard had so worked himself up in terms of Susan's father's alleged abuse that he decided to sue her father for depriving him of a wife with a healthy sexual appetite.
Shut the fuck up. Are you
It's
kidding me?
so bad. It's
Eva,
so bad.
this story is your last name.
It
It's
is.
gross.
It's so gross. It's so
It's
bad.
so is that a legitimate thing you can sue someone for?
I think you can sue someone for anything and cite any reason. Like I think it's not like, like there are specific charges that like when things are brought against people like federally or statewide. Like I think there are specific charges you have to be like, hi, you are charged with this thing. I think when you sue people, I could be completely wrong. Please definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can just be like, hi, you're being sued for. Oh, and it was also for $1 million. He thought that he had
Forget it.
earned $1 million because of
Forget it.
this.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awful.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually
That's
did write the next bullet I wrote. This is the grossest thing possible. And one of those sentences that has so many things wrong with it, you don't know where to start.
that's exactly how I feel. I feel like
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm kind of frozen in time. It's just so
It's very
stupid.
immobilizing. It's like,
Yeah, it feels also like one of those things that like you hear about in like back when husbands were sending their wives to asylums for
yes.
anything just so they could go cheat on them and never check them out again. It's
Hmm.
it feels like it's like if anything very old-timey and like but even then it doesn't even feel like that's a realistic reason. Like if you could just sue someone's father for their daughter not turning out a certain way and like to make it something so like vulnerable too.
Yeah, no, it for sure. It really does sound like sort of a modern day version of that, of like, right, that used to happen, and I'm sure definitely still happens in a lot of different ways, but this does sound like a real and like a really overachieving version of it because it's like he's like
Yeah.
suing his father. He's like going to all of this mind
Like
games.
imagine the arrogance where you're like, "Oh, I can do
Uh-huh.
this and everyone will back me." Like, what are you talking
Right.
about?
Well, it's
What are you talking
because
about?
I have to think I have a bullet down here later, but like I have to think it's because he's a prosecutor because the
Oh, duh.
like
Yeah,
he's
it has to be.
or was like, and is still really well known as like, head of like a legal fucking department, of
Mhm.
like the branch
Yep.
of the law. Anyway, I'll get there. Oh God. So, along with suing Susan's father, Richard also started to make Susan participate in, quote, memory getting sessions with him.
What does that mean? Is that as bad as I think it is?
It's it
It's as bad
gets it
it's
gets
what I think
pretty
it is.
bad. I'm not exactly sure what you're thinking right now, but it
Okay.
mostly is
I
just
think I want
like
to keep it in my own head. I
okay,
think
okay.
it's really bad. I think it's really bad.
It's mostly just like apparently like talks for hours. It does escalate. I'll mention this later too, but it does escalate to like involving weapons. Like he is basically him being like, you have repressed memories, and her just being like completely like, I don't like not knowing what to do. Like, what do you do in that situation when like someone is that adamant and you're like, this is not reality. This is not, I'm telling you
That's
things.
insane.
It's really wild. Yeah. So
Wow. Okay.
and sometimes they lasted all night long, just him and her until daybreak.
And it was at this moment it's just like his version of talk therapy of like
Yeah.
let's like but that feels like so it feels like a big conversation that ends in a dead end when like it starts with I don't remember. Like so now where do you go
Right.
from there? Like
Exactly. It's like then he's building so much in his mind, in his, narrative of what's happening. It's just so wild.
I feel like with all
Um
this money he could have just sent her to therapy and then I hope that therapist would have been like, please leave this man.
correct. Right. The therapist could have been like, "Hi, maybe he sucks.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
everything he's saying is incorrect." And
Mhm.
it definitely seems like I mean, we can definitely talk about it later too, but like it's just such a like an emotional torture type situation that like it definitely seems like she knew. I mean,
Also,
yeah,
like
that's just such a hard.
I imagine with this kind of talk therapy, the reason it went for hours and hours and hours is because she was at a dead end, and I imagine that it. I mean, I've told you about my past. I
Mhm.
imagine that from personal experience, eventually it just breaks you down, and you will
Yeah.
say whatever it takes just to shut them up for 5 minutes, and then they
Mhm.
just keep harping and harping until eventually you've built out a crazy storyline and even you don't know what's going on anymore. It's
Right.
crazy making.
No, exactly. Like that definitely factors into her confession from earlier, where it's like a lot of the sources were saying, and she even said herself, like, I just didn't know what to say anymore. So I didn't want to be with him. So I had to
Yeah.
say something to get away.
Yeah, just to like appease them so you have a second of peace. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, which is so, so scary. So finally, when she wouldn't admit to the abuse that Richard was still like really obviously harping on, Richard became violent.
Shit. Okay.
So he's now moved up from emotional abuse to domestic violence. He just starts devoting all of his time to this. Ellen calls it the phantom case against Susan's father,
Okay.
which I thought was a great term, phantom case.
I think so too.
Right, yeah. So Richard cut off all contact between their family and Susan's family and friends. Meanwhile, he basically becomes Charlie from the mailroom, from It's Always Sunny, because in his
I'm
study,
sorry. Like that's like
no,
the worst time to laugh, but
no, I
creative.
like built it in because he literally does like in his study, he like pulls himself away in his study. He's got like papers everywhere, like books and research. He's like scribbling and highlighting and circling everything, just being like, this is evidence, this proves this, and this proves like, just like trying to link everything to this thing that doesn't exist that Susan
Right.
says.
Like, I mean, truly grasping at straws. Like,
Yeah,
and the straws
literally
aren't
just
even
like,
there.
yeah, and like, right, exactly. You're grasping at like phantom straws, like completely miscellaneous, not even like, yeah, it's just so wild. So he's Charlie in his study. He all in the name of finding evidence against to like continue to now he's already filed this suit, but like to continue finding evidence against her father. Meanwhile, the memory getting sessions get worse. He keeps a gun in his lap as he's questioning her and or other weapons, including his sword.
What?
Yeah,
Okay.
I know.
Well, I feel like I don't. Okay.
I I know. It's just so like wild. Like again, it's like another. Oh, you
like
have
we
a
should've-
sword now? Like what?
That's another one of those twists. That part of my brain is thinking like that's fucking horrible and traumatic, and the other part of me is like I feel like I should have known earlier that he had a sword. But like,
right.
but I also, you know what is the jarring part about that is because first of all, I didn't know he had a sword, and second of all, I have never known anyone to have a sword and actually have it for a threatening reason. Like,
Oh,
so
that's
to
a good
me,
point. Yeah.
I feel like now swords are like something you either collect or you learn about, or like I'm very like I'm not in the cosplay world, but I'm pretty adjacent to it. So I see a lot of like, swords for like hobby stuff.
Right.
But I feel like a gun immediately threatened me just hearing the story. But a sword, I have to tell myself like, oh no, it's being used as like a threat, as a weapon.
Right.
And it's like so jarring because now it just feels like anything could be a weapon at this point if it's in his lap, and it's
Right.
really creepy. It's a I don't know, another hurdle to jump through to understand the story. But
No, for sure. It's like the chaos of the choice, right? It's like jarring because
yeah,
it's like
that's
what
exactly it.
you already had a gun. Why do you need a sword? Like
Yeah, it's like now you're just getting creative with like making someone truly fear for their life.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's I think that's what it is. I think that's a perfect way to say it because it feels like there's a little extra sick twist to it of like I
Hmm.
could shoot you, but I'm gonna just like do whatever I want at random at this point, and you're still gonna feel in danger.
Right. And like in the same way that like, any I feel like the brain is going through all of the possibilities of any situation, even if it's like
Yes.
small, it's like you're now given a different fit. Like she was probably then at that point, like, wow, I could get shot. Wow, I'm already getting abused. Wow, I'm like,
Yeah.
physically abused. Now
It's
there's a
almost
fucking
like
sword. Like,
it
it's
feels
awful.
like it's almost like I don't know, in some way like showing her just you can't even be certain about the type of pain I could put
Yes.
you in. It's like I'm just
Yeah.
gonna at different times display different ways that you are in full danger and you can't even guess which one is going to happen to you.
No, that's such a good way to
It's a,
put it too,
a
because
mental
it's
torture.
yeah, and like right, falls right in with that. Like, I mean, toxic masculinity doesn't even seem to cover it because that doesn't even
Right.
seem like enough of impactful words
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
that. But you're right, it feels like that controlling, toxic thing where it's
Like you
like,
can't even feel in control of the
mhm,
fact that you're going to get hurt. It's like you don't
right,
even know in what way that's going to happen.
exactly, yeah.
Anyway,
Oh
sorry. I didn't mean to harp on it, but you said sword and my
no.
brain did gymnastics. So,
No, that's such a good way to put it too, because I hadn't thought through all of the ways that like really implied such a like a chaotic, like continued emotional abuse. It's just awful.
And not to also like completely negate the fact that at other times he had a literal fucking gun in his lap. Like, holy
Right.
shit.
It's just
My
on
God.
top of bad. Like it's all bad. So maybe not surprisingly, although he was making so much money, although at this point the Hamlin family went bankrupt, which obviously didn't help anything or the stress that anyone was under. Even like I was thinking like shake him out of it. Like it felt like this moment felt like a kind of almost like a cult point mentality of like maybe he's so far into it that he's like I have to believe this now. I have to keep going with it.
Hmm.
Or maybe he already believed it. I would think that like not having money anymore would really like shake you out of something into some other sort of survival mode, but it
Yeah.
also obviously can make things way worse, and usually does, I feel like, in true crime. Um, so then trying to get everything in writing, like a lawyer,
Hmm.
Richard wrote a letter detailing his what he thought was Susan's childhood abuse and convinced Susan to sign it.
Wow. Really like a lawyer.
Yeah, right?
Like
Yeah.
like all that we need now is a notary. Like, are you
Uh-huh.
kidding me?
Maybe he was, I mean, who knows? I don't know who's a notary or who's not. Maybe he was his own notary. I mean, I don't
I
know if
don't
you can
know.
be your own notary, but
It sounds twisted enough that I mean, he literally quit his job for this like weird challenge he put himself in. I wouldn't be surprised if he also went out and found a way to become a notary, you know?
right. Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't be surprised either. Oh, so it's just so heavy. Like the whole, all of it is like so, like emotionally heavy. So maybe he didn't go out to a notary, but he did make a ton of copies. So he found a copier somewhere and he plastered them all around Susan's father's neighborhood.
Oh no.
I
Oh my
know.
God, poor father.
I know.
I mean, this poor woman also. I'm just like, now that we've moved on to a new character in this story, this poor man,
I
like
know.
waking up that day and like now walking outside and that's what's all over your neighborhood. And like,
Hmm.
no matter what he says for the rest of the time, someone's going to be skeptical, you know?
I know. Which it is it so it's interesting later. I had the quote, but I'll share it here that Susan's sister did testify that apparently their dad wasn't a great dad. She was like, listen,
Oh,
he's not
okay.
the best, but also he definitely didn't sexually abuse at least me. Like, and I did not witness anything with Susan. And Susan is also
Okay.
saying that she never saw anything. So I did think that was kind of an interesting kind of, twist that she was like, yeah, and all like he's not great.
It's like
And
he's not
also
100%, but he's not 0%. He's not, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
not what this is, but he's, yeah, exactly. So I thought that was really
Oof.
interesting and right, again, nuanced and all
That's
of
got to be
those.
horrible to wake up and see that accusation to all your
Hmm.
neighbors. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
Oof.
And if your relationship is already like not where maybe he wanted it to be with his daughters,
Right.
like if that like it just I can't imagine coming
And
back
he probably
from
also was like, what the fuck did I do to this guy? Like,
right out of the blue, truly.
yeah.
So Richard also started making Susan keep a diary where she talked about her childhood abuse, and now he starts escalating to the idea that Susan was not just a victim of childhood sexual abuse, but now he starts layering in the idea that she is also abusing their children as well.
Wow, it gets
I
so
know.
it gets so layered so fast.
And
I'm
it's
still recovering from like three things ago, Eva.
I know. And it's just so sad. And it's all so like not there. Like it's just he's pulling at just like you were
Yeah,
saying,
he's
like
just
nothing.
and like why would you I mean, I'm sure the reason is control or power or something, but like why would you if the whole thing was like you weren't getting laid enough as much as you for the amount of sex you thought you deserved. Why now are you going to go ruin another man's life and your children's lives because now you're going to convince them that their mom is abusing them? Like,
Yeah,
why are your kids having to go through this because you weren't getting laid? Like,
I know. It gets so fucking sad when the kids
oh,
come into it. That comes up in just a few points too, because he does right. He like tells
he's
them,
ruining generations of people.
yeah, just like the right, the malicious like just like the radiating maliciousness out from this one fucked up
Yeah.
person is so it's
Yeah.
so
I
awful.
mean, he sounds like the king of incels. Like, just
Mm-hmm.
like, well, she's not giving me sex, so the kids are gonna hate her. Her father's life's
Mm.
gonna be ruined. Her life is certainly ruined.
Yeah.
And I'm still not getting laid. So like, what's the problem here? Not me. Like,
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like
unless, wait a minute, what?
I was just gonna say, so there, I didn't find, like, there wasn't in the notes that I found and the articles that I found, but I assume that he was also raping her as well
Like
throughout.
it was quote working for him that she was discovering this about him, and therefore their sex life was back to where he wanted it, and it was 100% rape,
Potentially. That's what I was
coercive rape.
assuming.
Yes.
There's a point later that I was like, oh, I think that is what's happening. And it's right. Just like
This woman needs a
awful.
hug. She needs a real fucking hug.
Yes. So this is also so, so sad. But where Ellen points out in her notes that Richard starts getting really targeted with his abuse. And so Richard actually at one point broke her ribs.
Why?
And then because she was in the just
Oh,
the course of things, like not
okay. I
agreeing
didn't
to
know if
the
there was a
abuse.
certain reason. Okay.
I think it was just along the lines of like not agreeing to potentially in one of the memory getting sessions. And so he would do things like break her ribs and then hit it, like target that spot again, like knowing obviously where it was. It's so, so bad.
Wow.
It's so bad. He would force her to stay in her room, obviously isolating her from her children. He even slept with a gun pointing at Susan.
Oh my god. Wow. This is okay. Wow.
I know, I'm so
At some point
sorry.
at some point there's just nothing I can even say. That's
I know, I'm so sorry.
Is this person still alive and around? Is she okay? Can you just tell me now that she's okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Wow. I just so hope the world for her. Okay.
I know, and I'm so sorry because it does get
We're
worse.
I don't want to hear it. I'm gonna hear it. Obviously, it's her story. It needs to be
I
heard, but
know.
I am not gonna
Yeah.
enjoy it. And I also wonder, like, I know you're gonna answer it for me in 3 seconds, but how the
Mhm.
fuck does this get worse?
I know. It continues escalating basically along the trajectory of him seeing her as not a victim anymore, but seeing her as participating in, and this is where the satanic cult stuff really comes in because
Oh
this
my god,
is
I fucking forgot there's
I
a whole
know.
satanic cult to happen yet.
Yeah.
So wait, does it turn into? Well, you just tell me. You just tell me.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. It's such a hard story. But right again, like one that and like, I was talking to Ellen about it and she was like, this wasn't a story that I found a ton of places. So it's like seems like it maybe isn't one that has been like super covered. And it's also like, wow, like right, her story really it needs to be heard
Yeah,
and
someone needs to be
validated
talking
and
about this. Like someone went through this. Holy
yeah.
shit.
Oh,
Okay.
it's just so awful. So
Wow.
okay, so Richard Wright moves from Susan in his mind from victim to willing participant. He starts telling his children that their grandfather is a high priest in a satanic cult and that Susan was attempting to become the high priestess in that satanic cult.
I'm gonna let you say a few more things before
Yeah.
I start asking questions because we'll be here for all night.
Yeah. So this is also really fucking sad because this is where he starts bringing the kids into it and he would like abuse Susan in front of the children.
Oh my god.
I know, and basically tell the kids that she had the devil in her, that she was demonic, a part of this cult, along with their grandfather, right? That like
Wow.
they obviously know. The children admit that they at the time believed their father, but also it's like how would
But
you
how you
not?
it's survival
Yeah,
at that point. It's
exactly.
self-preservation. Of course you're going to believe whatever keeps you alive. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And they kind of, it sounds like they talked amongst themselves of like some of the kids talked about it in terms of like, oh my gosh, we need to pray for her. Others were like, no, she's lost. And like what their dad was saying, which was like, she's lost to evil and is already completely, which that's also kind of like Christian ideology, which I feel like is like a
Mm,
flip in terms of like pointing at quote
yeah.
Satanism, even though I feel like that's not it. It's
I have
almost
a
like
hunch. Yeah, I think Satanists don't do this.
correct.
Just
I feel like
to be
didn't you and
clear.
I one time look up the satanic like tenets, and we were like, I think we are Satanists. We
I
believe
was
all of
like
these
I was
things.
like, I'm certainly on board with a lot of this
It
shit.
was
Yeah.
like very consent based, and it was very like I forget
Very
which.
consent based.
Yeah, so this is like I feel like I want to like put quotes around Satanism anytime it comes up because it's very like it seems like what like a conservative would point at and be like that's Satanism,
Uh-huh.
whereas like
Uh-huh.
actual Satanism seems like do we all want to have a good time?
Yeah,
We're all
it's
okay
like
with that? I mean, I don't
yeah.
know, but like I feel like that one
But only
time
if you want to. If you don't want to, I don't want to. So like we won't.
exactly.
Yeah.
We're just
Um
gonna talk it out.
so okay, I feel like I'm just going to ask some questions
Yeah.
because we really went from not talking about quote satanic cults at
Mm-hmm.
all to immediately him thinking that she's trying or telling them that she's trying to take the rank of a high priestess. Like, did he have interest in this shit? Like, it sounds like where did that come from? Unless he had like an additional mental breakdown. Like,
Right. Yeah, I
what
actually don't
caused that?
fully know. Like part of me thinks like it did mention they went to church in the
Okay,
earlier, so part of me was thinking like, well, what's the quote unquote
he.
like worst thing he could think of to say about her?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, all signs point to the devil. I guess. But
Right.
like, so okay, and
It
then
also, sorry, I will say too, because I had this at the end, but I'll say it now too, that he basically, like, even after all of this, like, doubles down on the idea that he was doing this to, like, save children from being abused and say, and, like, save, that he thought that, use terms like tip of the iceberg potentially. So things like
mm,
that just really started sounding very QAnon-y too. So part of me,
oh yeah,
you said incel before, like, it sounds
yeah,
also very kind of
yeah,
along those lines too. So I wonder if there was some connection there that like
maybe
I
yeah.
mean, I don't know. It was like early. This
He
was 2004, so like
okay.
early internet-y times. I mean, not early internet,
Hmm.
so I was still like, a little bit before, but
But definitely not what it is today.
yeah.
Yeah, my big wonder was like, why is he bringing the kids into it if he's trying to protect them when he wants to keep them away from the mom versus
Right.
watch me beat her and now you're also traumatized? Because if he,
Right.
I mean, I'm one of the smartest things my mom ever taught me was you can't rationalize with irrational people.
Mhm.
And I don't know why I'm trying to logically make sense of something that is completely out of touch with reality. So
Yeah.
part of me wants to shut up, but also part of me is like, if you're so about like taking care of the kids, then, but it's
Right.
not about taking care of the kids. It's making sure
No.
that they hate her. So
Exactly. Yeah, it's the controlling thing that like it's even using that as an excuse for the behavior too. So, um, this is also really bad. Everything is really bad. Richard escalates it even further, and so in at a point where he's abusing Susan in front of the kids, he says, quote, that he is going to get rid of Susan and get them a new mom.
so earlier when she at the very beginning when she was like thinking of killing her husband, I'm on board. Like I'm like I
Yeah.
it started it started with me wondering why she would admit something like that. And now I get it. And now I get it.
Right. It is interesting, like ironic that that's something that I think he told her to say, and also at this point if she had, it would have been very much self-defense.
Oh, yes.
And
Like
like
I don't condone murder PSA, but also
mhm.
like that meme of Lucille Bluth going, "Good for her." That's where I'd leave it if
Mhm.
I found out she did kill him. I'd be like,
Yeah,
"Okay, well,
right, it just is like so chaotic and so torturous and abusive. It's like how else does this
how
stop? So um
yeah, okay."
I know. There are a few more like it literally still ramps up a few more points and then we come back down. So, I'm so sorry in advance.
I feel like I say this a lot and like people take it as a joke. but I don't mean it in a joke. So if it comes off in like a weird jokey way, I don't mean to. But truly, how can this get worse?
I know. I know.
Every time I think that is the end, there's more to it.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you. So the house then goes from sort of like the not like metaphorical, still very real prison, but this is now he like really locks down the house. Like they barricade the house. He starts talking about how Susan's father is plotting to kill him.
Okay.
This is okay, I forgot. We have like one little ish lighter note. It's not really, but it's not like the ramp up and then down. Okay, I'll just tell you. So, one time, this is also to the point that everything was so locked down and he had so much, abusive control of the house, that one time Jehovah's Witnesses came to the door and Richard ran after them with a gun and accidentally shot himself in the leg.
Oh, well, I don't know if I'm supposed to feel bad, but
Correct. Yes,
don't.
I certainly don't. But of course, like in his own head, that's not what happened. So he came back in and told his kids, at least, that the Jehovah's Witnesses were a part of the satanic cult and they had come to kill him, and that, quote, the Satanists had shot him.
Okay.
Which I feel like this is the point that I remember, but maybe it was just also in a story that there was a moment like this that I just remember being like, oh my gosh, this boo-hoo, this like fucking piece of shit, like.
Yeah, and like at some point I want to like recognize that there's clearly like a serious mental an illness going on.
Yeah.
But it's still like what really outweighs all of it is that this poor woman is going through that. Like, I mean, nothing compares to what this poor woman's going through.
Right.
Just horrible.
Yeah, no, exactly. So at this point, Richard, this is where we ramp up, and then I promise we will come back down. So Richard forces Susan and two of their children, the two older boys, into the family car. And really terrible, he makes the kids point loaded paintball guns at Susan's head the whole drive.
What?
I know. It's so awful.
Oh my God.
Yeah, one of the boys later testified that he 100% thought his dad was going to kill his mom, like multiple times, including this day. Richard, pulls over near an empty field and takes Susan out literally into the middle of this field, points a loaded gun at her head, and for whatever reason decides not to kill her in the middle of the field. And instead, the next step of the story is taking Susan to the Sacramento police station. So we ramp all the way up there, and then we meet back at the beginning of the story is her confessing to her quote-unquote crimes to the Sacramento police.
My adrenaline is sky high. It doesn't look it. I'm trying to keep it together because you keep saying it's eventually gonna not be bad anymore. So I hope this is the beginning of that.
It's sort of the beginning. There's like one more like, I'm so sorry for your adrenaline. There is one more little like blip in this because she confesses everything, obviously thinking that like she's obviously just so scared. She's like, let me just say anything and everything. And also, even if the cops arrest me, I won't be with him. Like, at least I'll be safer,
Yeah.
So she confesses, is in this police station. The cops, in not great form, send Child Protective Services to the house to remove all of the children, but tell Susan that she is free to go home with Richard. I'm so sorry for all of our nervous systems. That point, like, when I read that, I was like, want to break things. Want to break things.
One of the hardest things about being a podcaster is I have to, for the sake of audio, have to have something to say. I have nothing. I got nothing.
I know. It's so bad. And like
I can't imagine the gut wrenching of you tried and you failed.
Yeah.
I feel like in hindsight, if I were one of those kids, I would think every day about how I should have just put a paintball gun to my dad's head. Like, he was in the front seat, just get him in the fucking eye or something.
Just
I don't know.
right, all of the mental like back and forth of anything, and like this is the part too where I was like, I can't even imagine like walking into an establishment that like you are societally told is there to protect you
Mm-hmm.
and protect vulnerable people, protect your community, and they so glaringly don't do that for you,
Mm-hmm.
and also just right, like it's the thing too where like he is a prosecutor, so like I'm sure these cops also have seen him, like, you know,
Mm.
cops have to go in right to court even for
Yep.
like traffic tickets that they pull over, so they know this guy. Like I bet you it was so it was just
And he's a
easy.
pillar of the community. So it's like, what are you talking
Right.
about? You're having a mental breakdown or you're a
Right.
woman.
Yeah,
Therefore,
exactly. So I bet as wild as like they thought it sounded, I like they still clearly obviously sided with him initially because the patriarchy, because like cops
yeah.
you know, it's just all of that. It's so
And those poor
awful.
kids.
I know.
I wow, those poor
Well,
kids.
here's a good point because thankfully the children were questioned and they were able to tell the cops what they had actually seen versus what Richard had like told them and told them to
Mm.
say, and like the quote unquote evidence that he had gathered. So the police, as soon as they, I think that was like kind of a turning point. As soon as they heard what the children were saying, they were like,
Thank God they
"Oh
were
fuck!"
like, I mean, I'm always like so bristly about using this word, but thank God they were so brave enough.
Right?
Which, I mean, a little kid defying their abusive father, that's fucking brave.
Right.
So,
I know. And like I was thinking too about like those questioning sessions. Like I just hope they were, I mean, it sounds like they, thankfully, that was what turned the narrative for the police in terms of like them being able to arrest Richard because they then
yeah.
do. But I also was just like, oh my God, those kids. Like, I hope that questioning session wasn't, I mean, it couldn't be anything other than traumatizing, but I just hope that it was handled in a way that was like, you know, I don't know,
Yeah.
all
I
of
don't know.
the easy made it even a bit easier. I'm not sure, but
But also
anyway,
by them standing up, they saved their mom, you
yeah,
know.
100%, yeah, yeah. Gosh, yeah, especially hearing that quote from like it was the 18-year-old at the time of the trial that was like had testified and said that like yeah, this day amongst multiple other times we thought he was going to kill her. Um, so there is one more really gross part that so when Susan goes back to the house with Richard, he is trying to convince Susan to have a romantic fun evening with him, which
Mm.
is I that is the
Mm.
end because then he gets arrested. Thank fucking God.
Thank God.
Yeah. So his trial, this was in 2004. His trial in 2006, 2 years later, is very in some ways Ted Bundy-ish because he represents himself in court,
Of course.
which
I mean, just it tracks with all the other like narcissism doesn't even begin to cover it.
yeah,
Like this beyond holier than thou image of himself that he can just get
right.
away with everything. Why not also be your own prosecutor
Literally, why not be just
or your own defense or whatever?
yeah, exactly. Ellen did point out in her notes that this also made his Susan testify directly to him in court,
I didn't
which
even think
is
of that.
I hadn't either, but
That's
Ellen pointed it
so
out.
twisted and it feels so intentional.
Right? Yeah, that it's like another level of control that even in this place that's supposed to be unbiased, you
And like
still
to your abuser who like if you've been in an abusive relationship like
yeah.
you addressing what your abuser has done point blank period not
No.
flying. It just
No.
isn't, it's just not going to happen. It unless you, I don't know, maybe she felt safe under like the fact that she was surrounded by all these people, but did she then have to go home with him after
No.
this?
No,
Okay,
I don't
maybe.
think so. He had been arrested at that point, so I think he was being
Oof.
held. So I think at that point once he was arrested, they were
Looking him
thankfully.
in the eyes and talking about
I
what he did,
know.
I can't
And
imagine.
being questioned, like if he's representing himself, like doesn't that mean he gets to question to like witnesses too, people that are on the stand? Like
I can't imagine what she had to go through
no, it
in that
seems like
courtroom.
there should be some semblance of more protection there that like that doesn't happen because that seems like
Ooh.
a completely compromising the reason that a trial is happening, you know? Like you're trying to
Mm.
get to the truth and like if an abusive person is there
Your
controlling.
abusive person
Yeah,
telling you to tell the truth, knowing that you better
exactly.
fucking not. Like, are you kidding me?
It's so gross. It's so gross.
Ugh,
So basically, he thankfully was sentenced to life in prison. So he is
thank
still in
God.
prison. But because of the way California law is set up, is what was said in a few different sources, he has been eligible for parole, which his poor family every time is like, no, like
Yeah.
fucking no. So in 2019, Richard Hamlin was denied parole, but is eligible again in about 7 years, it sounded like. But it does sound like every time, like all of the talks about it are very like, no, don't let him out. But like,
Like,
just
and what would even, like, I mean, I don't, I mean, no one knows, but what would happen? Would he try to go back to her? Would he, like, do this to another woman?
right,
Like,
like
what would happen?
there's just there's nothing good that would come from him. Like,
His kids probably feel the safest they have ever. Like,
yeah,
now, like, imagine him coming out and always wonder. I would not be surprised if they all change their name. Like, are
I
you kidding?
100%, a
You
hundred
kidding me?
percent. Yeah, yeah. So I only have a few more points here. That questionable true crime blog that I was telling you about earlier. So I read that one and got to the end and was like, I felt like their coverage was just a little bit like not. It just felt a little too middling, like it was trying to be too unbiased, and I was like, okay, but this woman was like emotionally, physically, and sexually
Yeah,
like
I feel like this is the one we're allowed to, like, be open
yes.
with our feelings on.
Correct,
Like,
correct. But so this author, the author of this blog, claims, and who knows if this was true or not, but claims so this true crime article, the blog article, was written right around the time of Richard's arrest. So it came out, and this author claims that he got an email from Richard, having read it, and then being like, "Hi, I liked your coverage." And the author, yeah, and so the author even like kind of waffles and was like, "Oh, I guess I was like maybe too unbiased, or I was trying to be like whatever, whatever."
I mean, I guess if he's like a reporter or a journalist or something, they teach you to be unbiased, right? So maybe
Maybe,
he was like, I did my job too well.
maybe, but it was a really like the blog itself is not connected to anything, so it seems like it's
Oh,
not
okay.
like super credible. But basically, it kind of gives a bit more like if this is true, the author quoted Richard's email saying like things like he did it to quote get help for those children who have been violated so that they can begin on the road to health, which like a lot of it just sounded very
Oof.
QAnon-y, like like early
Oh, yeah.
stages, like that
If
sort
he
of.
were out today, he certainly would fall into that world.
Yeah. So that I thought that was kind of an interesting like tidbit, whether or not it seems like maybe it's who knows if that's like potentially true or not. And Susan, thankfully, Susan went through just the most like hellish, awful ordeal. She actually now speaks about domestic violence. And I have this last quote from her. This was during the last time that when Richard was denied parole. She said that process of even just him being the option of his parole being there was, quote, "It was a grueling process and re traumatizing for us all," she said. "We can only hope Richard does not appeal the decision or petition to advance the next hearing date, thus shortening the 7 years. But for now, we can breathe."
Jeez. Wow. And how, so do we know their ages? Like, where is she? I keep thinking of the kids as like our age now,
I think
but like
that
it's actually probably,
it
is
might
that right?
be around that because I think so. I think at the time of the trial in 2006, one of the sons was 18. So that would have been a little bit younger than me. So, like, yeah, maybe around, like, in between our ages, maybe.
I think so too.
Yeah.
2006 at 18. Yeah, because in 2006 I was 14.
Yeah. And I would have been a sophomore in college, I think. So that would have been
And I would
like
have been a
20.
sophomore or freshman in high school. Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, so right in the middle of us. Wow. So,
Yeah.
and how many kids were there?
4.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. If any of you ever hear this, I'm so
I
fucking sorry.
know. God, it's just such a like I just right, my heart goes out to all of them and like just the idea of like I don't know, I feel like exposing people who are that manipulative feels really like important to talk about a story like this because it's like who knows what like it sounds like he is like the system has flipped And it sounds like he is very being taken as like the danger that he is, but it's also like that's such a fucking dangerous position. Like men like that, empowered, that are just trained their whole lives that they are entitled to anything and then will say anything, and
Right.
it's just so fucking scary. And people believe them first over anyone else. It's like, oh, it's just so awful. So I know, yeah, to
Oof.
if any of that family is listening,
Yeah.
God,
Well, I'm so sorry.
we wish you all the good things.
Yeah, everyone send good vibes, please.
Mhm.
So I think you ended up doing Christine a favor by her never having to cover that.
I know.
I think Christine, if you're listening, she's probably like, thank God. Like that was really, really dark. But also, like you
Yeah.
said, there's not a lot of sources out there that have covered this.
Yeah, it was mostly like Ellen mentioned that too when I was talking to her about it the other day. It was yeah, some articles, mostly the Evil Lives Here episode. And then yeah, I tried to look because I kept thinking like, oh wow, like that part, it was the part about him shooting himself in the leg. I was like, for some reason I feel like I remember that, but then again maybe that happened in a different story, but yeah, I looked all around other podcasts too to be like, was this out there? But I didn't. Let me know if I overlooked anything, but I didn't seem to find
I would not
anything.
know. I mean, it seemed pretty thorough. It also just seemed pretty horrible.
Yeah.
How do we welcome, by the way, Eva, to what we always struggle with, where it's
I
like, now how do we
know.
bounce back from that to end the show
I should have
instead of
thought of something. I don't have a baby app to
I
or a
know.
baby.
My baby is the size of a molecule and actually not even that big. It doesn't exist. Um Yikes. How do we how
Bread
do we
candle?
how do Oh yeah, can you actually give a shout out to the bread candle?
Yeah.
What was the company called?
Oh my god, it smells so much like bread. It's called the burlap bag baked bread.
Burlap bag. Oh, they don't just do bread.
Oh yeah, no, the bread is just the
There's a coffee one, there's an apple cinnamon one. There's one called Cowboy Kush. I don't know what that is.
Oh.
Sounds maybe like throwback to my story. I'm excited to tell you my story next week. The second
Yeah.
parter. I'm trying to. I don't know how much of it I want to say or like leave you on because there is a twist to the story of
Ooh.
Glen Tavern Inn and what the psychic has come up with. So, anyway, thank you for coming on again. This is your third week.
Oh my
Are you
gosh.
feeling more
Yeah.
obviously you're feeling more comfortable. You're just like throwing out horrific stories left and right.
I know. Next one is not quite well, it's like in some ways it's like a bigger story, but I think it's less like emotionally impactful because
Okay.
it might be one you've already heard, and B might be like a little less like I don't know the right words to say, but I think you'll like it.
I guess we'll figure it out after my psychic
Mhm.
twist next week.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for listening, and also, wow, everyone, good luck with the rest of your day. And whatever happens in your day to day, just know that like it's only going up from here because we've just
Yeah.
bummed everyone out.
Oh gosh, I'm so
Um,
sorry. I'm really doing the
you're
thing.
just doing Christine's work is what you're doing. You're just she passed on the torch to the right person.
Oh god.
Thank you. Next week, I think that's your last week
Yeah.
guest hosting, and then we've got a new
Yeah.
person coming on
Oh my
afterwards.
gosh, thank you for having me, and like it's so nice to be able to chat with you in this way, and thanks everyone for
Really,
listening to me. I hope I did Christine's seat, obviously not here amongst all of my stuff, but Christine's like metaphorical seat justice.
you certainly left a mark. That's for sure. Okay, so we will see you next week for your last episode and finish up my story and
Yeah.
hear something, maybe fingers crossed, better than this week's.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
wow, and
That's
why
we
drink.